Chapter 391, Drink, 3. Chua. A corner at the edge of the Weijiang Sea Domain. Someone pierces through the domed sky and enters the sea domain. It's a golden peng bird. From within the peng bird, Seo Eun-hyun and Kim Young-hoon emerge. Splash, splash. It's the seated detachment, standing oblivion avatars of Seo Eun-hyun and Kim Young-hoon, who were left behind in the Cherry Blossom Dragon Sea Domain. After escaping the sea domain, Seo Eun-hyun shakes his body. While crossing the sea domain, they had been caught momentarily inside a dimensional fragment filled with mucus, so the avatar's body is covered with sticky mucus lumps. Point 2. Seo Eun-hyun and Kim Young-hoon spit out the mucus as they look around, nodding to each other when their eyes meet. Hot. Following Kim Young-hoon, they fly for a while and land on an island in the sea domain. In other words, they reach Sacred Orchid Island, where the Wuji religious order initially entered the ancient Force realm. Tatit. By the way, why here of all places? Well, I heard that Sacred Orchid Island is originally a gathering place for pirates and scammers, so it's preferred. TSK, that pirate bastard. Kim Young-hoon clicks his tongue and sits on the dock at Sacred Orchid Island. Seo Eun-hyun stands behind him for a moment, gazing up at the sky. Soon, it will be noon, the time when the light of the sea domain will be at its brightest. It's nearly the promised time. And just when it hits noon, Kim Young-hoon, who is sitting on the dock, opens his eyes and looks into the air. Have you arrived, Jin Mayo? Soon after, the void distorts, and the pirate captain of the fighting demon pirate gang, Jin Mayo, appears. While the main body trains at the top of Salt Mountain for the goal set in 100 years, I decided to handle various matters at the sea surface with the seated detachment, standing oblivion avatar used to hold back Yuk Rin. Among the various matters, the main operation is this: the Baek Rin rescue plan. Currently, one of the Wuji religious order's guardian ghost kings, Baek Rin, was dragged along with Yukyo while trying to protect her, so he has to be rescued before escaping to the bright cold realm. And just as we were struggling to rescue him, we met someone with similar goals to ours. It was Jin Mayeol, captain of the fighting demon pirate gang, who claimed to have been betrayed by Yuk Rin. We decided to temporarily join hands for our mutual purposes, and today is the day we planned to meet Jin Mayeol on Sacred Orchid Island for discussions. So, you're saying you need our help? Facing Jin Mayeol, we drink tea in the cave residence of Chi Lu Shilu, the island lord of Sacred Orchid Island, a 4-axis stage cultivator, and the subordinate of Jin Mayeol. I have brought refreshments. Please enjoy them to your satisfaction. Though Chi Lu is a 4-axis stage demon beast possessing the true blood of the lustrous glazed peacock, she politely serves us tea and snacks in the presence of us, at the integration level. Jin Mayeol doesn't even glance at Chi Lu and says, "That's right. As I mentioned before, our fighting demon pirate gang are the innocent victims here. We were merely pawns used and abandoned by Yuk Rin. Therefore, we seek revenge against Yuk Rin, and in the process, we intend to repair and reinforce the Salt Bones ship, as well as steal some of the salt crystal chunks Yuk Rin took. Help us with this." I sip the tea while reading Jin Mayeol's words and intent. Claiming to be innocent victims is a blatant lie. However, seeking revenge on Yuk Rin and obtaining salt crystal chunks is true. In other words, his reason for collaborating with us is legitimate. However, isn't there more you haven't told us? I smile coldly and mention the events of that day. When you were attacked by Yuk Rin, we were only hiding. We saw the whole situation unfold. Jin Mayeol, if you truly want to join hands with us, confess what you really want. When Jin Mayeol was facing Yuk Rin, he mentioned purple soul filling the heavens, which Kim Young-hoon and I had observed from our hiding place. He appears to pause in silence for a moment before speaking. Do you want the purple soul filling the heavens? No. I too have the formula for purple soul filling the heavens. I got it from Yuk Rin. I'm telling you to clearly state your true purpose. He clicks his tongue and frowns. I guess you haven't cultivated the purple soul filling the heavens. That's right. I'm currently occupied with more urgent matters, so I'm just analyzing the formula. That's why you're asking such questions. Huh. Telling me to speak the truth. What a joke. If you had practiced purple soul filling the heavens even once, you would have realized what I truly desire. He speaks with a grim smile. Purple soul filling the heavens is a method we cannot cultivate. What? You must have found the purple soul jade seal when your Wuji religious order raided one of our pirate gang's secret docks last time, no? Yes. As you might have guessed, I acquired purple soul filling the heavens through the purple soul jade seal. Strange. I looked at him with doubtful eyes and speak. Our side has a fellow named Seo Ran, who is a half-human, half-dragon hybrid. His dragon lineage is that of the sea dragon race, even of the royal line at that. Yet, even Seo Ran can't even dream of something like purple soul filling the heavens. How did you manage to obtain it? Oh dear. It seems our Wuji religious order's cult leader is not well informed about the fighting ghost race. He smirks and taps the table with his fingers. And suddenly, Pasak. Jean Miol's hand appears to be covered in scales, and his left arm transformed into that of the sea dragon race, covered in blue scales. Our fighting ghost race is part of the Heaven tribe, but was also an old and prestigious race known as the pinnacle of the Earth tribe before we discovered ritual methods. Depending on the number of horns we are born with, we can mimic the physical characteristics of other races, even those born with the bloodline of a mortal beast true blood. Chwerarak. Jean Miol's eyes shine with the seven-colored light of the lustrous glazed peacock. His hair transforms into that of an unknown sea creature covered in barnacles. His right arm ablaze with fire, becoming that of a demon ape. His cheeks and forehead are adorned with tiger-like patterns, and his body undergoes various changes. We are such a race. Of course, obtaining a mortal beast true blood or fully transforming into a particular race is impossible, but being able to manifest and utilize even a portion of the physical traits of countless immortal beasts is an incredibly advantageous trait for survival. Binding all these traits, Wooduk, Wooduduk, the various features on Jean Miol's body seem to gather into his right arm. After a while, with a grotesque sound, Jean Miol's right arm transforms grotesquely. As if blood, flesh, and bone are being inverted, the characteristics of the sea dragon race and 4 other unknown races seem to mix together, transforming his right arm into a sharp, grotesque sword. Because our race's combat dance, can maximize our combat power, the fighting ghost race has always been a species at the pinnacle of life. A voice filled with pride about his own race, the fighting ghost race. However, hearing that seemingly arrogant explanation, I flinch and ask one question. By any chance, do you know about a talent that allows you to replicate and freely manipulate all immortal beast abilities? There is indeed such a myth in the fighting ghost race. The myth of the body known as the noble blood true sea radiance body, Guishijun Hagangsun. A legendary body that supposedly allows one to freely harness and wield the powers of all immortal beast bloodlines simply by perceiving them. Of course, it's completely absurd, so scholars of the fighting ghost race say it's a metaphor for a state that our race can aspire to. I see. Thank you. Are you interested in the myths of the fighting ghost race? Our myths and legends have been passed down in the form of our combat dance or methods, so by learning the fighting ghost race's exclusive methods, one will naturally come to know of them. The fighting ghost race methods good for the human race to learn are probably ones such as the fighting demon true sea radiance, 6 chains forest technique, or fighting demon ghost treasure. He displays pride in the fighting ghost race while introducing me to various methods. Well, thank you for introducing me to such great methods. Your fighting ghost race truly seems to be an excellent race. Haha, don't mention it. So then, shall we continue with what we were discussing? Sounds good. Anyway, the reason I was able to obtain the secret art of purple soul filling the heavens from the purple soul jade seal is because I once encountered Yuk Rin's main body, who possessed the body of Yuk Ung and managed to steal the traits of the sea dragon race. Sut. He wriggles his left arm, glaring at the undulating scales of the sea dragon. The reason your hybrid sea dragon companion couldn't obtain anything from the purple soul jade seal is probably just because his cultivation is too low. If he reaches at least the 4-axis stage, he'll likely be able to obtain purple soul filling the heavens from it. Thanks for the useful information. So, what do you mean you can't learn purple soul filling the heavens right now? Jean Miol's face becomes filled with rising anger. He reverts his grotesque, sword-turned hand back to its original state and grits his teeth with a look of humiliation. At first, even after acquiring purple soul filling the heavens, I couldn't learn it. So back then, I thought it was a secret art that only a pure sea dragon race could master, and sought to obtain the dragon form disguise method. I thought if I could obtain the dragon form disguise method and take the form of a sea dragon, I could learn the secret art. However, killing intent radiates from Jean Miol. Sacred Orchid Island Lord Chi Lu, who is waiting beside us, silently bows her head in front of Jean Miol. With a grim expression, Jean Miol presses down hard on Chi Lu's head with his hand. Princess Yukyo, that wretched brat stole my dragon form disguise method. To make matters worse, Yuk Rin broke the official contract with me and even breached our unofficial agreement in the Panlai Island expedition, attacking me and taking away all my spare lives. I glance at the woman called Chi Lu. Her face is being severely crushed by Jean Miol. If this damn thing hadn't hidden Yukyo, I would have found the brat long ago, retrieved the dragon form disguise method, activated it, and learned that even taking the form of a sea dragon wouldn't have allowed me to obtain purple soul filling the heavens. I wouldn't have wasted my precious spare lives on such a worthless endeavor. Damn it. He glares at Sacred Orchid Island Lord Chi Lu, as if he will kill her, then releases his hand from her head, grinding his teeth. Anyway, I realized I couldn't learn purple soul filling the heavens even with the form of a sea dragon. Even if you have the formula, you too probably can't learn purple soul filling the heavens. Is that so? That's unfortunate. In short, what you want is a method to learn purple soul filling the heavens, right? That's right. Jean Mayul nods. And that method, I can only assume it is somehow related to Princess Yukio. Yukio? Yes. As you can tell from her title, Sacred Orchid Princess, Sacred Orchid Island is officially Yukio's territory. Of course, the real ruler is this Sacred Orchid Island Lord Bastard. But, anyway, why do you think Yukio hid in Sacred Orchid Island? And Shi Lu, who claimed to be my subordinate, betrayed me and hid Yukio? Why do you think that heartless Yukrin who has no blood or tears took the salt crystal lump and bothered to take along trash like Yukio from Penglai Island? Do you think Yukio holds the secret to purple soul filling the heavens? Well, I don't necessarily think it's to purple soul filling the heavens. It could be a secret related to the sea dragon race, or it could be the formula for the salt sea returning dew jade that Yukrin is desperately hiding. But it doesn't matter which. Even if it's not purple soul filling the heavens, obtaining salt sea returning dew jade will suffice. Either way, Yukio has that much value. Kidnapping Yukio again and trading her with Yukrin to obtain the complete formula for purple soul filling the heavens. That is my desire. I look at Jean Mayul for a moment. There is no falsehood in his words, and there is nothing more he is hiding. Of course, there is the ambition for monopolizing Yukrin's treasure and a desire for revenge, but that is all. Kim Young-hoon and I have a brief discussion and then make our decision. Considering that Baek Rin's soul plaque hasn't been extinguished in the Wuji religious order, Baek Rin is alive. And if Baek Rin is alive, it's highly likely he is currently with Yukio. Very well. We will join hands with you, Jean Mayul. Haha. I look forward to working with you, devilish cult master. I look forward to working with you too, pirate. Thus, the devilish cult master and the fighting ghost race pirate captain form an alliance to stab the back of the Weijong Sea Domain's governing Dragon Palace Lord and kidnap his daughter. Wait for us, Baek Rin. We will rescue you together with Yukio. I think of Baek Rin, who began to change as he spent time with Yukio. Though it seems Baek Rin himself is unaware, he is currently in love with Yukio. Purple soul filling the heavens, huh? I organize the information obtained from the seated detachment, standing Oblivion avatar on top of Salt Mountain, and recite the formula for purple soul filling the heavens. I've been neglecting it a bit due to researching the Great Mountain Splitting Emperor technique and the Salt Sea Returning Dew Jade, but I should look into this as well. After all, it's also an opportunity to uncover the flaws in Seo Huiol's tainted soul filling the heavens. I unfold the formula for purple soul filling the heavens. The purple soul filling the heavens has various formulas and mantras, but the most crucial formula consists of 3 sentences. They are as follows. Purple is the most suitable color to hide in the darkness. Carry on life in the darkness where light can never reach. By continuing the inherited life, we shall all finally reach liberation. Chapter 392, Drink 4. Wawung. As soon as I operate purple soul filling the heavens formula, the nascent soul within me trembles. Then, my nascent soul seems to tinge with purple for a moment before transforming into something alien. What is this? I can feel it. Right now, my nascent soul has taken a form most suitable for seizing another's body. Is purple soul filling the heavens a secret art for seizing someone's body? I frown as I explore purple soul filling the heavens further. And just as I am about to continue operating the formula, it happens. Wawung. Patchashit. My nascent soul, which has turned purple, suddenly convulses and releases spiritual power. Soon after, the nascent soul, which has released all the spiritual power stained by the purple of purple soul filling the heavens, returns to its original state. The properties of the nascent soul altered by purple soul filling the heavens has reverted. What the? However, I focus on a different phenomenon rather than the release of the secret art. The formula of the secret art. It resisted as if alive when I tried to activate it. It's a very bizarre occurrence. Is this why Jean Mayul said we cannot obtain purple soul filling the heavens? To activate a technique, one must infuse spiritual energy into the formula and trigger it. However, when spiritual energy is infused into the formula of purple soul filling the heavens, it acts as if it's alive, disobeying my command and then dispersing. Formulas cannot be alive. Even if you infuse spiritual energy into them, they're just a mass of spiritual energy, not a soul. But something that isn't a soul moves as if it's alive. Interestingly, I know of something similar. It's like a deep-sea monster. In the depths of ancient force realms deep sea, monsters born from the amalgamation of various memories and histories of a perished world. That is the deep-sea monster of the ancient force realm. Is this why Jean Mayul put so much effort into mimicking the body of the sea dragon race and transforming into a sea dragon using the dragon form disguise method? The sea dragon race is a race that can find the path in the deep sea of the ancient force realm. He likely hoped that for the formula of purple soul filling the heavens, which is akin to a deep-sea monster born from the memories of the deep sea, the sea dragon race could potentially find a way to control it. However, after experiencing the formula, I shake my head. Can the sea dragon race really control a method no different from a deep-sea monster? Honestly speaking, it seems highly unlikely. But Yuk-Rin is using it. That's why Jean Mayol is trying to approach Yuk-Rin to ask about how to use purple soul filling the heavens. This would mean that purple soul filling the heavens is related to the sea dragon race for now. The purple soul jade seal of Ja-Iyuam. Purple soul filling the heavens. Tainted soul filling the heavens. Sea dragon king Seo Huiol. Possessing the body of a sea dragon, Yuk-Rin. Salt sea returning dew jade. Yukyo. Punlai Island and salt crystal. Ancient force realm. All of these feel like they're connected in some way. Yet, I can't grasp exactly what criteria connects them. It's exceedingly frustrating. While pondering like this, unable to find an answer, I decide to move my seated detachment, standing oblivion avatar. It's then, wait. I suddenly stop trying to move the seated detachment, standing oblivion avatar, and recall the formula of purple soul filling the heavens. Wait. Something seems to come to mind. Seated detachment, standing oblivion avatar, and the purple soul filling the heavens formula. And the incident of Yuk-Rin's clone using purple soul filling the heavens to hide in the plane of soul, evading the eyes of both Kim, Young-hoon, and myself. That's it. Purple soul filling the heavens, just like the single strike of seated detachment, standing oblivion, is entirely within the plane of soul. Wawung. I focus my consciousness and chant the formula of purple soul filling the heavens, dying my nascent soul. Immediately after, I infuse my nascent soul into the all-heavens sword and swing it towards the void. Single strike of seated detachment, standing oblivion. Chwat. The nascent soul, through the formula of purple soul filling the heavens and the single strike of seated detachment, standing oblivion, begins to rise to the plane of soul. Boom. I can see it. Upon rising to the plane of soul, I can see it clearly. The structure of purple soul filling the heavens. It binds chi to follow the soul. Chi carries history. In other words, chi is information. Seeing from the plane of soul, it's comprehensible. Wawum. The formula of purple soul filling the heavens gathers chi on its own and accumulates data internally, functioning similarly to a human soul. And the artificially created quasi-soul moves like a deep-sea monster, attempting to escape my control. Kugaguk. Together with my nascent soul and the seated detachment, standing oblivion avatar, I seize this deep-sea monster-like data entity on the plane of soul. Kugagugagugu. The data entity generated by the formula of purple soul filling the heavens struggles madly, wriggling to escape from me and the avatar's grasp. However, while it might not have been possible with just my nascent soul, combined with my realm of seated detachment, standing oblivion, the data entity is eventually subdued by us. Quadaduk. I concentrate my consciousness and clutch the barely subdued data entity tightly. And upon reopening my eyes, I find myself with a purple soul filling the heavens that seems somewhat out of my control, but still more or less obedient. Ah, that Jean Mayol guy. If Jean Mayol were to know of this fact, his eyes would probably flip. For someone who has reached seated detachment, standing oblivion, the structure makes it incredibly easy to learn purple soul filling the heavens. But, of course, I am still merely holding the reins of purple soul filling the heavens and haven't completely mastered it. To be honest, purple soul filling the heavens is so violently rampant that I wonder if it's impossible to control it entirely. It feels like I'm just forcibly making it move crudely with the power of seated detachment, standing oblivion from the plane of soul. If you don't possess the power to reach the plane of soul, is it even possible to learn it? I operate purple soul filling the heavens and move the purple-tinged nascent soul in the void with my eyes closed. Wawum. The nascent soul in the void smoothly melts into the darkness and suddenly appears 10 zhang away. I see. Only now do I understand the principle that allowed Seo Huiol to infuse tainted soul filling the heavens into my shadow last time. Purple soul filling the heavens is capable of moving through darkness in a form similar to the heart language of the heart tribe. Assuming purple soul filling the heavens and tainted soul filling the heavens share the same root, Seo Huiol must have hidden tainted soul filling the heavens in the darkness and attached it to my shadow like heart language. And as soon as I sat on the throne of the Penglai kingdom, Yuk-Rin could invade my mind using the same principle. Most likely, Yuk-Rin had hidden his purple soul filling the heavens clone in the shadow of the Penglai kingdom's imperial throne. And when I sat on the throne, the moment my shadow and the throne's shadow became one, he invaded my mind. He didn't just walk out from behind the throne looking sly for no reason. Suruk, Suruk, Suruk. Penglai Island is currently submerged in the depths of the deep sea, so it's quite dark around. Thanks to this, I am able to experiment with a movement technique using the nascent soul activating purple soul filling the heavens, appearing and disappearing like teleportation across Penglai Island. Within the darkness, a secret art that allows movement anywhere in a form similar to the heart language of the heart tribe. This is part of the power of purple soul filling the heavens. I think I've understood one more principle of tainted soul filling the heavens. In the deep darkness of Co Huiol's heart essence, it is clear why Co Huiol's heart essences, which must be located far apart in distant places, could communicate over vast space-time and exchange 5 blessings axes. This is because, like purple soul filling the heavens, tainted soul filling the heavens also has the ability to move anywhere within the darkness in the form of heart language. After retrieving my nascent soul back to myself, I activate purple soul filling the heavens again. Sururu. My physical body does not completely disappear as it's not in the plane of soul, but I manage to hide myself instantly, as if melting into the darkness. And in this state, I swing the all-heavens sword towards the void. Boom. Record of transcending cultivation and exhausting martial arts. In the darkness where no gazes can reach. Within that space, I unleash record of transcending cultivation and exhausting martial arts, severing even the perception of those belonging to the darkness. Ha ha ha. I laugh. It isn't laughter without reason. With purple soul filling the heavens, I have managed to enter the same darkness as Co Huiol. If we can both stand in the same darkness, then all that is left is to identify each other within that darkness. And I have record of transcending cultivation and exhausting martial arts. Ha ha ha. Co Huiol. Now, even if you find your eyes, I am not afraid. I have gained an important weapon to face him. It is an incredibly valuable experience. Pasak. Of course, if there is a downside, it's that the purple soul filling the heavens struggles frantically like mad, requiring a considerable amount of mental strength to restrain it. Using purple soul filling the heavens might restrict my martial arts a bit. Perhaps the number of times I can unleash the single strike of seated detachment, standing oblivion, would decrease. But when facing Co Huiol, there's nothing as effective as this. I briefly experiment with purple soul filling the heavens, taking it a step further from moving through the darkness. Purple soul filling the heavens is a method that gathers energy in the plane of Qi, forming a data entity with that energy and elevating it to the plane of soul. And thanks to this data entity elevated to the plane of soul, the color of my nascent soul turns purple. And if I gather and mold this data entity, woo-woo, kagugugu, around the nascent soul activating purple soul filling the heavens, something like a purple mist appeals. The purple mist growls fiercely like a wild beast, struggling to break free from my control. Stay still. I control the mist with the power of seated detachment, standing oblivion, and launch a single strike beyond the barrier of Penglai Island to send an avatar outside. Kagugugu. Through the avatar, I tear through several dimensions of the deep sea. Quang flash. With every exertion of the avatar's power, dimensions begin to collapse one by one. Dimensions with deep mountains and secluded valleys reminiscent of peach blossom gardens. Dimensions with fire prisons and blazing flames. Dimensions where pitch-black oil flows. And dimensions filled with toxic gas. Kugung. How many dimensions similar to the domains of integration stage cultivators did I push through? Kururum. Within a dimensional fragment, I sense something resonating throughout the entire deep sea. Shortly after, the space above the dimension I am smashing with the avatar shatters, and a bizarre creature resembling a catfish roars. Bythei-dash. It's a deep sea monster. I send data entities of purple soul filling the heavens that I control through the plane of soul to the avatar. Kagugugu. A purple mist arises around the avatar. Be quiet. Tadak. In an instant, I fly through the void and slice the deep-sea monster in half, then unleash the power of purple soul filling the heavens that's roaring like mad towards it. Chwak. The mist of purple soul filling the heavens, as if it had been waiting, breaks free from my control and swiftly envelopes the corpse of the deep-sea monster. I can feel it. The purple mist begins to dismantle the information of the deep-sea monster. The boundless information and historical knowledge that made up the deep-sea monster starts being reconstructed within the purple mist. And in the next moment, Pasasasasa. As the purple mist subsides, the deep-sea monster in the form of a catfish, somehow shrouded in purple, glares at me from within. The wound I had inflicted is gone. Keek. Kagugugu. It charges at me once more. As I roughly counterattack the creature, I realize it's gotten stronger than before. Purple soul filling the heavens had entered its body, taken over the deep-sea monster, discarded its bad parts, and compacted the good parts, resulting in its evolution. After a brief confrontation with the creature, I split it in half once again. Koum, where the deep-sea monster fell, an ancient stone the size of a fist remains, and the purple mist seems to drift in the void before adhering to the ancient stone as if absorbed. This is, then, the formula of purple soul filling the heavens begins to emerge over the ancient stone. Whoom. I shudder as I read the formula of purple soul filling the heavens that rose above the ancient stone. The formula has changed. I recite the changed formula and activate it once more. And I realize, purple soul filling the heavens has evolved. Of course, it isn't a massive evolution. It's merely an additional line about how to deal with slashes, but evolution is still evolution. A method that disassembles and absorbs the soul and information of the opponent to evolve. So, this is purple soul filling the heavens. Originally, it isn't a mist, but rather a method where my nascent soul is completely assimilated with purple soul filling the heavens, allowing me to erode and devour my opponent to evolve. However, I have not yet fully assimilated my nascent soul with purple soul filling the heavens, so I can't erode opponents yet. With this, I've somewhat grasped purple soul filling the heavens. It's a pity I can't evolve by eroding the opponent, but that's not what I wanted in the first place. More importantly, being able to move freely in the darkness means I can quickly find Taoist Baek Rin. Smiling faintly, I try to transfer the newly acquired power of purple soul filling the heavens to the avatar on the sea surface. And then, I shudder. Wait. Suddenly, a thought crosses my mind. Purple soul filling the heavens is a secret art that disassembles and absorbs the opponent to erode and evolve. And tainted soul filling the heavens is a secret art that disassembles oneself to infect the opponent. If that's the case, can't I absorb Seo Huiol's tainted soul filling the heavens configurations with purple soul filling the heavens? Chapter 393, Drink, 5. Basement of Governing Dragon Palace. Within a certain prison located there. No one has set food in the underground prison recently, but the footsteps of demon beasts echo. Clang. Kwong. Get in. And Princess Yukio, this way please. What the demon race dragged in is a ghostly creature with only white bones remaining, Baek Rin. Alongside him was Yukio, known as the Sacred Orchid Princess. After a brief commotion, a demon beast and a ghostly creature are each locked in different cells. Yukio, imprisoned, bites her lip as she grasps the iron bars. They're really locking me up? In response to her words, the sea demon beasts who captured and imprisoned her and Baek Rin click their tongues and speak. It's not the first or second time the princess has tried to escape with that ghostly creature. It seems the palace lord is very angry, so please reflect on your actions. After finishing their words, they leave the underground prison. UGK up. Yukio shakes the iron bars in the underground prison, but perhaps due to the chains binding her arms and legs, she can't exert her proper strength. The same is true for Baek Rin, who is imprisoned a couple of cells away. After trying to escape for a while, Yukio sighed and sat down. Prison? Now he's not even treating me as a daughter anymore. Well, hasn't the princess tried to escape so many times before? Thanks to the princess, I'm stuck in this prison as well and look like a mess. At Baek Rin's words, Yukio smirks. Who told you to follow me? A scammer like me. I told the princess before, didn't I? The cult leader ordered me to look after the princess. That damn cult leader. Aren't you tired of it? Always being under someone. If it were me, I'd have escaped to find freedom. The princess may not understand, but I prefer being tied to someone. Huh, you're a frustrating cultivator. Wait, come to think of it. Yukio asks Baek Rin, when did you start addressing me as princess? Even after you heard I was the daughter of the palace lord, you didn't seem to care? Baek Rin remains silent at her words. Yukio ponders for a moment and then claps her hands. Oh, right. It was after you returned from Penglai Island, wasn't it? Hee. You were the shaman who showed extreme loyalty to the nation of Penglai Kingdom, no? Baek Rin seems to recall past events and smiles faintly. It seems that loyalty to the royal family still lingers. It was truly an amazing illusion. Yukio gnashes her teeth and retorts sharply at his words. How many times do I have to tell you? This world is fake, and Penglai Kingdom is real. After escaping from Penglai Island, Yukio didn't have her memory seal reimposed. Therefore, she vividly remembers everything from Penglai Kingdom. Baek Rin laughs heartily and says, how can a supposedly real world disappear like a mirage when a single palace is uprooted? Isn't that just an illusion? An illusion, you say? The formation at Penglai Island is merely the entrance to enter Penglai Kingdom from this world, not Penglai Kingdom itself. Kwong. Yukio, emotional, slams the iron bars violently, causing blood to flow from her hand. Aya, it hurts. Is your skin weak, even though you are of the demon race? The term demon race is funny too. In Penglai Kingdom, I was a half-human, half-dragon, and my identity leaned toward being human. But upon coming out, I found that I'm actually a hybrid demon race with just a trace of carp and sea dragon blood. And in this world, for some reason, my human bloodline vanished, so I became part of the demon race. Right after that, my father sealed my memories, so I just lived as if it had always been that way. You were originally half human, half dragon. Is that why you, towards Cercio ran? I didn't know at the time, but thinking back now, that's probably it. Maybe I was drawn to him because we share the same half-human, half-dragon identity. She fiddles with her wounded hand and sighs. Ugh, losing blood is making me feel cold. Even though you've reached the nascent soul stage, you haven't obtained a resistance to cold and heat? If you've obtained the Een spirit, it would be fine even if your demonic power is sealed. Don't just speak recklessly because you're a ghostly creature. Do you think resistance to the power of Een comes easily? Bekrin chuckles as he stands up. Then, with his skeletal hand, he knocks on the wall of his cell. Clang. When Bekrin, a four-axis ghostly creature, strikes the iron bars, the sound of metal reverberates. Clang, clang. Watching Bekrin, Yukio asks, "What are you doing?" "I'm trying to move to the adjacent cell." "Why?" Clang, clang, clang. There's a moment of silence, with only the metallic sound echoing underground. Yukio asks again, "Why are you trying to come to me?" She looks at Bekrin's eyes, glowing with ghost fire. Within his gaze, she can sense some emotion directed at her. "Don't come. You can't even use spiritual power. Instead, use that effort to undo the handcuffs or shackles. Do you know why I consider that world an illusion?" "Why?" At Bekrin's words, Yukio looks at him with a puzzled expression. Bekrin smiles bitterly. "Inside, I dreamed of losing the person I loved again. And my sole purpose there was one: to defeat the king of demon spirits and marry the princess." "Ugh." Hearing his words, Yukio's face turns slightly red. "After coming out, I had brief conversations with other comrades. And from what I heard from the Six Extremes Ghost King and the military strategist, I found a commonality among those who were possessed by that world. What is it? It is that the possessed experience their most painful situations. In that world, everyone must face their own pain, whether they want to or not. I felt such things in that world. It seemed as if the world itself was trying to give the possessed some sort of lesson. Doesn't it feel like a fairy tale world? A fairy tale that gives a lesson to its reader. Of course, it's not a hopeful fairy tale. It's a story that forces open the reader's wounds and sprinkles salt on them. One feels the pain of having their wounds seared. But just as searing wounds with salt disinfects them despite the pain, the hearts of those who enter become stronger. Clang. Bekrin knocks on the bars. Bekrin and Yukio's eyes meet each other. "I knew it too. That I didn't follow you merely because of the cult leader's order. In fact, I don't have much loyalty to the cult leader. I joined the order only because I saw my friends doing well. But it seems that until now, I was trapped in love, regret, and despair for my old friends, turning a blind eye to everything else. I have come to love you, Princess Yukio." Kang. The sound of metal echoes once again from the underground. That world must be an illusion, because only then will you remain in this world. At Bekrin's words, Yukio bites her lip. "It's not an illusion. That world is real." "Why do you say that?" "Because the childhood I spent there and the love I received from my mother there are not lies. There is a person who loves you here as well." Kang. Yukio clenches her teeth. "Why are you so obsessed with me? I've even deceived you before. I don't care even if I am deceived. I might continue deceiving you. Isn't it because the princess thinks this world is fake that you keep doing such deceitful things?" "That's right. This world is fake anyway. But my feelings are real, Princess Yukio. I know you are not that kind of person. Even if it's only the memories of a shaman from Penglai Kingdom, I know very well that you are a kind-hearted person who cares for your people." At Bekrin's words, Yukio's lips tremble slightly. "You said you were born in that world? I remember the you from that world. Would you lie to someone like me as well?" At his words, Yukio chews her lip. Blood drips from her mouth. "You think of that world as an illusion. If so, my image there is fake regardless. Do you still think the same when I am just a scamming carp woman in this world?" She asks Bekrin with a sneer. "If I were to really go back to that world, would you be able to follow? To that world you believe to be an illusion or a dream?" At those words, Bekrin laughs, his jaw opening wide. "If you wish, I will follow. There was a time I regretted not seizing the moment. I will not let it happen again." Bekrin's face consists only of a skull. But just for a moment, Yukio feels as if she glimpsed Bekrin's living appearance on his visage. Yukio averts her gaze from Bekrin with a stiff expression. "Do as you wish. And as I said before, if you continue doing that, you'll just end up breaking your bones. I don't mind. Kang. Kang. Do whatever you want." Without looking at Bekrin, Yukio sits down and buries her face in her knees. She seems to be asleep. However, the sound of Bekrin striking the bars continues to ring, and something trickles down her cheek, where her face is buried. and falls from her chin. Yukio ignores Baekrin. After all, he would give up eventually. But 10 years pass. Baekrin doesn't particularly care about the underground prison, and neither do the guards. In the prison where no one enters. There, Baekrin continuously strikes on the iron bars. Passasak. Baekrin's right hand has already turned to dust, but he continues to strike the bars with his right arm bone and left hand. Cock. At last, a part of the bars break. Just enough for a hand to fit through. Yukio clicks her tongue as she watches him. Stop doing such stupid things. Baekrin silently continues to strike the bars. 20 years have passed. By now, one side of Baekrin's cell bars have collapsed. Since Baekrin and Yukio were originally imprisoned one cell apart, Baekrin still has to break through another wall. But at some point, both of Baekrin's arm bones have crumbled completely. Yet, Baekrin lifts his legs and kicks the bars. Occasionally, he rams his body against the bars. Yukio simply watches Baekrin quietly. Baekrin's body crumbles, but the bars of her cell are gradually shaking. Amidst the indifference of Yuk-Rin and the officials of governing Dragon Palace, a ghost and a demon beast are slowly, little by little, coming closer together. 30 years have passed. Baekrin's left side has worn away and vanished, and his left leg has turned to dust. But Baekrin continues to slam into the bars with his one remaining leg. Kang. Pasak. Finally, one of the bars between Yukio and Baekrin slightly crumbles. But Yukio shouts at Baekrin. Stop it already. How long are you going to keep this up? Baekrin only smiles. We're almost there, can't you see? See what? All I see is your body being smashed to pieces. Your strength is waning as your body crumbles. So what am I supposed to see? Are you the one who can't see? Baekrin's eyes brighten silently. And once again, he leaps on one foot and rams his body against Yukio's wall. Kang. Tuduk. One of Baekrin's remaining ribs shatters. I see it. Very clearly. But just why? Didn't you become a ghostly creature because you didn't want to die? What are you doing now? At her words, Baekrin chuckles. And he crashes into it again. Yukio seems about to say something more, but closes her mouth as she watches him. And so, 40 years have passed. Passasak. Baekrin's body is completely destroyed. All that remains now is his skull. No, even the jawbone of his skull is shattered. And the 40 years feel meaningless. Baekrin failed to reach Yukio. Yukio looks at Baekrin's skull with empty eyes and speaks. How many times did I tell you? You'd fail. You can't even use mental speech because your spiritual power is sealed. It's pathetic. How stupid. Why didn't you just stay put? What? Say something as you usually do. Like asking if I slept well in your greasy manner, or assuring me today is the day. Go on, try again. In the end, I am right. Just staying still was the best plan. You made a small hole, but this is the end, isn't it? Your body is utterly wrecked for nothing. This is ridiculous. Say something. Wallong. The circuit drawn on Baekrin's skull buzzes softly. It seems like he is trying to say something to her. However, the sound is too faint to hear. Of course, after ramming your head so much, that circuit's broken too. You used to brag about receiving it from the cult leader, and now it's a tattered mess. Now that you can't even say what you want to say, what will you do? Huh. Geez. Yukio looks at Baekrin for a moment and lets out a hollow laugh. It's finally quiet now. Do you know how noisy it was all this time? Oh, it's peaceful. Without that noisy clang and breaking sound, I can finally sleep a little more comfortably. She lays back down on her spot and closes her eyes. Baekrin just silently watches her. And 3 days later, clang. Yukio begins to strike on the bars. She clenches her teeth. Why? After coming this far, why did you stop? There. Baekrin silently watches her. This far. You made a hole. Just a little more. Regardless of everything, what you were trying to do could have been completed. So why did you stop there? Splurt. Blood bursts from her hands. Due to not inheriting much dragon blood, she has the fragile skin of a carp. However, Yukio continues to pound on the bars even as blood gushes out. She has been listening for decades now. Even without hearing for 3 days, it's as if something is grating her ears. Yukio, for the first time in her life. No, to be exact, for the first time since following Yuk-Rin out of Penglai Island. She shouts not out of desperation, but with sincerity. Let me hear your voice. Why? Why did you stupidly crush your jaw to the point where you can't speak anymore? Clang. 60 years have passed. Is it at last? Or is it only now? In any case, Yukio, after pounding on the bars until her hands have torn, is able to connect Baekrin's cell and her own. Durarek. She extends her foot into Baekrin's cell. This is because she can no longer use her hands. Are you satisfied now? Yukio asks as she pulls Baekrin's skull towards her. Then, facing Baekrin's skull, she presses her forehead against it for a moment. Woom. Baekrin's skull resonates. Through the fine circuits drawn on his skull, Yukio finally hears Baekrin's voice. Woom. After listening to Baekrin for a while, Yukio clenches her teeth. Was it just to say something like that? Woom. Yukio looks at Baek Rin for a while and then laughs. A single tear flows down her face. You could have just said, "Good morning," like you used to. Just that one sentence would have been enough. As Yukio speaks, tears stream down on Baek Rin's head. If only you broke your handcuffs, if only you broke your iron bars and escaped. That would have been better. Though she cries out, Yukio knows as well. Even if the cuffs shatter, the restraint embedded in their nascent soul wouldn't disappear. Even if they break through the iron bars, as long as they are within Governing Dragon Palace, all their actions are visible to Yuk Rin, so it's meaningless. Baek Rin has simply done what he wants within the confines of his cage. To be with Yukio. And Yukio, knowing that fact, can do nothing but hold Baek Rin's skull and cry out in tears. And so 4 years pass. Quag-wag-wag-wang. Within the prison, Yukio, who was sleeping with a skull in her arms, wakes up to a sound as if heaven and earth are being torn apart. Kagugugu. The entire Governing Dragon Palace is shaking. With the vibrations, the underground prison, which no one paid attention to, twists, and the bars of the cell where Yukio is confined violently distorts. Kakang Kong. With a single shake, Yukio gains the opportunity to escape from the cell. Ghost fire flares up in Baek Rin's eye sockets. Yukio listens to Baek Rin's small whisper as her eyes shine. He sure comes late. Your cult leader. Womb. Well, womb. You're saying we should escape, right? I understand. She takes Baek Rin and steps outside. Hiik. As she ascends from the underground prison, she squints her eyes. The prohibition of the entire Governing Dragon Palace is being shaken, and countless subjects of the palace are in chaos. It's the perfect time to escape. However, Yukio does not escape outside but rather heads further into the interior of Governing Dragon Palace. Womb. Well, womb. Where am I going? Isn't it obvious? A certain poison burns in Yukio's eyes. Since my nature is that of a thief, I'm going to steal what my father cherishes the most. Kuwang. Amidst the bombardment of the fighting demon pirate gang attacking Governing Dragon Island. In that way, Yukio and Baek Rin walk toward somewhere. Chapter 394, Drink, 6. Kugagugum. A massive sword light shines as it intercepts Governing Dragon Island. From the opposite side, a golden saber light glows and slices through the Governing Dragon Island. It's a joint attack by Kim Young-hoon and I. That took a while. There is a reason it took so long for Kim Young-hoon and me to strike Governing Dragon Island. First of all, it's betrayal. Both Kim Young-hoon and I are aware of Jean Mayul's true nature and know he is someone who would stab us in the back given the chance, so we had to find a way to restrain him. To prevent Jean Mayul from betraying us, I had to procure the black ancient paper that originally mediated the contract between Yuk Rin and us, and slowly send it up from Panglai Island. It was an incredibly difficult task because it required using the All-Heavens sword to elevate the material to the plane of soul, hence it took quite a bit of time. Secondly, even if we managed to rescue Baek Rin, we had to plan how to bring him to Panglai Island. Even if we managed to save Baek Rin, there was no answer if Yuk Rin tried to capture him again, so we needed a way to quickly bring him back to Panglai Island before Yuk Rin could take action. In that regard, both Jean Mayul, who has extensive experience in the ancient force realm, and Book Hyangwa provided assistance. Should we use the Saltbones ship as a middle zone to leap across the sea domain? Even though the Saltbones ship can dive into the depths of the deep sea, it's impossible to dive deeply enough to Panglai Island. Therefore, the suggestion was to submerge the Saltbones ship as far as it could dive, and then create a middle zone that jumps between sea domains to bring Baek Rin back. With her advice and Jean Mayul's cooperation, more time was spent modifying the Saltbones ship to be used as a middle zone. During that process, there was some friction with the fighting demon pirate gang, and the modification time was extended as Jean Mayul occasionally felt displeasure. It was due to these reasons that it took almost 80 years to finally come to rescue Baek Rin. It's going well. The plan must not have any mistakes. It's already been nearly 100 years since Yuk Rin acquired enough salt crystals to master Salt Sea, returning Du Jade to great completion, so his power must be beyond imagination. Womb. Jean Mayul's projection appears beside me, arms crossed as he speaks. I glare at him. If your pirate gang had cooperated earlier, we could have come faster. You're the weird one for spending so much time to save one subordinate. And with you modifying my ship like that, of course there would be resistance, would there not? You agreed because it's beneficial to you as well. Thanks to Conqueror King Book Hyangwa's modifications, your ship's performance has improved nearly tenfold. Regardless, it's still just a lower-tier version of your Book Hyang fleet. Enough with the small talk. It's about to begin. You better do your part properly. You're one to talk. Jean Mayul retorts sharply before releasing the projection. Kugagugugug. At the center of the Governing Dragon Palace. There, Yuk Rin, who seems to have completely adapted to the body of Yuk Ong, reveals his enormous form. Around him, several of his 4-axis stage vassals appear. Jing. As soon as he reveals himself, The entire sea of the ancient force realm hums. Salt Sea returning Du Jade truly seems to resonate well with the sea of the ancient force realm. ZZZZT. This is insane. From the other side, Kim Young-hoon sends a heart message asking if it's okay, sensing something unusual. Facing Yuk-rin's main body, I realize. One sea domain in the ancient force realm is practically no different from his domain. The Heaven tribe unfolds an integrated Tao domain, while the Earth tribe assimilates it into their bodies. Then, what about those who practice Heaven and Earth dual cultivation? It's simple. They can do both unfold and assimilate. Moreover, they can do so simultaneously. Have you forgotten that last time when you couldn't oppose me with those feeble avatars? Now, over 100 years later, you've come to find me after my divine method has reached new heights. You must be asking for your insignificant avatar to be erased, right? Womb. Yuk-rin's body gradually transforms as if embodying the blue sea. His mane becomes the storm. His scales become the waves. Jing. In addition, the entire Weizhong Sea domain resonates with Yuk-rin at its center. I break out in a cold sweat. In truth, right now he can treat the entire Weizhong Sea domain as his domain in addition to the domain he's assimilated with his body. Therefore, he is essentially at the grand perfection integration stage of Heaven and Earth dual cultivation, almost rivaling my main body. It isn't just at the level of the three great ultimates. I would have to unleash all of Heaven, Earth, Heart, and Puppet. But I smile slightly. How frightening. Bwong. Ignoring whatever he is babbling about, I once again unleash a single strike of seated detachment, standing oblivion. Quadaduk. A transparent scar seems to appear on Yuk-rin's body, but it heals instantly. He laughs with his moon-like eyes shining and his voice resonating powerfully. How foolish. Even though this palace lord gave you a chance to flee, you persist? Admittedly, you are difficult to catch, but as the entire sea domain is akin to my domain, from the moment you used the Weizhong Sea domain as the battlefield, you have essentially entered my belly. Indeed, mastering Salt Sea returning Du Jade to this extent is slightly intimidating with an avatar. But isn't there one thing you've misunderstood? I speak with a sly grin. At the integration level, one doesn't engage in battles they cannot win. Ahaha, you lot must have something hidden. Let's stop babbling with our mouths. I take a stance and, with the All-Heaven sword, once again deliver a single strike of seated detachment, standing oblivion at Yuk-rin. He is wounded once more, but he snorts. To him, this level of injury seems as trivial as a core formation stage head being cut off. He appears perfectly fine. Is this the power of the strongest in the Wuji religious order, the cult leader? Truly nothing has changed in over 100 years. That is true. I grin as I move erratically around Yuk-rin, drawing his attention. It's an amusing sight. Even just 80 years ago, I was the one facing Yuk-rin head-on, while Kim Young-hoon was the one using speed to draw his attention. But now, it is me focusing on distracting him and scattering his attention. The reason is simple. Kugugugugu. The eyes of Kim Young-hoon, who is concentrating behind me, brightens. To Kim Young-hoon, who was communing with the enlightenment of Jang-ik, an opportunity to commune in the confines of a narrow space for 80 years was granted. 80 years of embedding Jang-ik's Padao into Kim Young-hoon. Can you imagine it? Do-do-do-do-do. WH what? The sea domain trembles. Jang-ik's enlightenment, and the enlightenment of great desert to Dead Sea through communing with me, and through sharing enlightenment with heavenly being and four-axis cultivators. There is a man who obtained the enlightenment of celestial energy guidance and attraction force, integrating it into his weapon. The light of the entire Weizhong Sea domain seems to focus momentarily on a small saber. It isn't an illusion. In that brief moment, the heaven and earth spiritual energy of the entire Weizhong Sea domain was indeed sucked into that small saber. The saber called Surpassing Radiant. That saber is united with the man's hand as one. He is Surpassing Radiant, and Surpassing Radiant is him. For a moment, I see the vision of a golden pung bird roaring out from behind Yuk-rin. You bastard. Around Yuk-rin, white salt crystal-like grains of spiritual energy emerge. He appears to transform from a blue dragon into a pure white dragon in an instant. White Dragon Yuk-rin glares at Kim Young-hoon and opens his mouth. From his mouth, a compressed dragon wave capable of encompassing the entire sea domain within its range shoots out. A dragon wave clearly stronger than it was 100 years ago. This is the power of a dragon. But do you know? There is a bird known as Garuda Jinchanak. This bird is said to cause thunder with a flap of its wings, break the world cycle, and devour dragons. Surpassing Radiant Genesis form, Linggong Kaifi Xing. First style, Diistru. A martial art created by Kim Young-hoon upon witnessing the enlightenment of the heaven collapsing esteemed one. Surpassing Radiant Genesis painting, Linggong Kaifiku. Its first form, Golden Wing Defile the Light, Jin Shimirgong. Editor, Garuda, Jinchanak, literally means gold-winged bird. The saber, concentrated with the light of heaven and earth, is swung. The next moment, all the light between heaven and earth is severed. That is the only way to describe it. It's as if the entire world has been enveloped by the record of transcending cultivation and exhausting martial arts for an instant, making it impossible to perceive anything. And when that fleeting, unperceivable world finally vanishes and perception returns, I feel the illusion of a golden flash descending upon the entire world. It's as if a golden wing momentarily obscures the light and then gently lets the light shine again. Yukrin is. I look at the spot where Yukrin had been. Yukrin is no longer there. I turn to look at the horizon opposite from where Kim Young-hoon stands after swinging his saber. There he is. After being hit by Kim Young-hoon's single strike, Yuk-rin had been flung to the edge of the sea domain's horizon, as if he can't believe he was so wretchedly blown away in a place that is essentially his own domain. An immense sense of humiliation and disgrace emanates from the distant Yuk-rin. Not just humiliation. He's taken a significant hit. If I were to compare it to the core formation stage, it isn't merely a cut to the torso, but a considerable strain on his golden core. Do you understand now, Yuk-rin? I speak with a sly smile. Our power is already equal to yours. Whether he heard my words or not, I can see his eyes turning white with rage. Even if there are some endurance issues due to the small amount of energy, the power of a Heart Tribe's avatar is identical to the main body. Originally, I intended to join forces with Kim Young-hoon if Yuk-rin's power, enhanced by learning the Salt Sea returning Dew Jade, turned out to be unexpectedly strong. But after witnessing the recent exchange, my thoughts change. Tut-tut. As Kim Young-hoon passes by me, we exchange glances. Now, Kim Young-hoon will face Yuk-rin alone. Turning my attention to the stunned officials of governing Dragon Palace, who are in disbelief at the recent strike and are staring in shock in the direction where their palace lord had been flung, I brandish the All-Heavens sword. I will count to 10. If you surrender within that time, you won't meet a harsh fate. At my words, several cultivators at the 4-axis stage affiliated with the governing Dragon Palace flinch and exude killing intent. It seems they are not inclined to surrender. Perhaps it's because they judged my avatar to be only at an ordinary early integration level compared to Kim Young-hoon. 1, 2, 10. Using the counting method I learned from the Golden Divine Heavenly Thunder Sect, I count to 10 and swing the All-Heavens sword. Wait for us, Baek-rin. We have come to rescue you. Step, step. Yuk-yo succeeds in reaching the depths of governing Dragon Palace while holding Baek-rin's head. Already, her body is adorned with glittering ornaments. What's this? Given Father's personality, if I had come this far, he would have at least sent a split soul as a warning. Yet, even after reaching the area she is concerned about, there is no sign of Yuk-rin stopping her. A sly smile appears on Yuk-yo's face. It seems they are fighting well outside. Seeing as father can't pay attention even though I've entered this far. Wawoom. Baek-rin's skull vibrates. Still, there must be a prohibition or something guarding in place. Don't worry. Given father's nature, he would guard it himself rather than entrust it to someone else. Creak. With a confident expression, Yuk-yo opens a door to a secret chamber within governing Dragon Palace. Her eyes catch sight of a large altar, and on top of it, some basic prohibitions are placed on a spirit plaque. Father is confident in his skills and doesn't trust others, so he guards most treasures personally and rarely relies on prohibitions or subordinates. Isn't it clear from the fact that he's only left prohibitions that even a chi refining stage cultivator could undo? Woom. Wawoom. What's that, you ask? Yuk-yo approaches the spirit plaque with a sly smile. It's my father's paternal uncle. My great-uncle inscribed his name onto this black ancient plaque. It's an artifact created for breaking through to the star-shattering stage, but unfortunately, he passed away after contracting some disease before achieving it. On the spirit plaque, the words Yuk-ung are engraved in the language of the demon race. This is a name plaque proving my great-uncle's existence, and simultaneously, a symbol recognizing my great-uncle as the owner of the Purple Soul Jade Seal and thereby proving his royal authority. This name plaque is an identity plaque and, at the same time, a contract proving that my great-uncle was acknowledged as the Sea Dragon King of the ancient Force Realm. My father is trying to change the name on this plaque to inherit the royal authority of the Purple Soul Jade Seal and become the true Sea Dragon King himself. A thrilling sense of exhilaration passes through Yuk-yo's eyes. If I have this, I can finally escape my father's grasp. Woom. Wawoom. She slowly approaches the spirit plaque known as the Black Ancient Plaque. Baek-rin's skull vibrates wildly, but somehow, the closer she gets to the Black Ancient Plaque, the more her eyes become dazed. It's as if she is being enchanted. And at that moment, Wawoom, with an exceedingly strong vibration trying to convey a message, Yuk-yo regains awareness with a flinch and hurriedly ducks her head. Quong. She breaks into a cold sweat. turning to see what had just grazed above her head. A long claw mark is etched onto the chamber wall. Dense devilish energy is spewing from the claw mark. Step, step. Someone emerges from the shadows of the secret chamber. It's Wai Yun, eyes half rolled back and exuding dark devilish energy. Master's possession cannot be touched. Yuckyo inhales sharply, looking quite flustered. Father used someone else to guard the black ancient plaque, which he cherishes as much as his life. Wai Yun screams incoherently, as if out of her mind. To that ghastly howl, akin to a wailing ghost, Yuckyo spews blood from her 7 orifices and starts to activate the artifacts she had stolen on her way to the chamber. Chapter 395, Drink 7. Yuckyo, with her eyes rolled back, scatters the many Dharma treasures she has stolen and swallows elixir pills. Heek, heek. Kagugugu. A dark crimson devilish fire tries to engulf Yuckyo, and she clenches her teeth while avoiding the fire. Fortunately, her accuracy is low since she's not in her right mind. Although Wai Yun possesses the power of the early heavenly being stage, she is merely a puppet moving without a sane mind. Luckily, this is what's keeping Yuckyo alive until now, but she senses something strange. Would Father really leave someone so mentally unstable right next to the black ancient plaque? No matter how much she thinks about it, it's odd. The Yuck Rin she knows would never do such a thing. It's strange. No matter how much I think about it, it's strange. If the Yuck Rin she knows wouldn't do such a thing, there is only one explanation. There's a high chance something happened to Father. Perhaps he has entered the initial stages of chi deviation. If not, he might have fractured his mind while trying to possess Yuckung's body. Whatever it is, this is not the behavior of the Yuck Rin she knows. Come to think of it, he's been more lenient with me ever since he returned from Penglai Island. In the past, if she was caught attempting to run away, she would be punished by having her spiritual power sealed and hanging off the cliff of governing Dragon Island for half a year. He had an attitude that didn't care if she died, but this time, he simply locked her in prison for a mere 100 years, which is considerably more lenient. Of course, an ordinary person would die if they were locked in an underground prison without food for over 100 years. But even if rotten, she is still a nascent soul stage of the demon race, so she could survive. She can tell. It started right after returning from Penglai Island. What's the reason? Because he went to Penglai Island? Or because he started cultivating in the Salt Sea returning Du Jade in earnest? Or maybe just because the biggest obstacles, the Conqueror King and the devilish cult, were trapped in Penglai Island. Kagugugu. A giant skeletal-shaped Dharma form is forming above Wai Yun's head. Crazy. What kind of devilish art is that now? Yuckyo breaks out in a cold sweat and raises the magic artifacts she had stolen from governing Dragon Palace. It's then, woo-woom. What? Are you crazy? Yuckyo glares fiercely at Baek Rin, who is buzzing at her waist. Mumble, mumble, mumble. Wai Yun gathers the power of her devilish art and recites a Dharma formula. Seeing this, Baek Rin buzzes his skull even louder. It's not that I don't believe you. With anxious eyes, Yuckyo looks back and forth between Baek Rin and Wai Yun's skeletal Dharma form, then squeezes her eyes shut and grabs Baek Rin's skull. Fine, I get it. Boom. Wai Yun begins to move the skeletal Dharma form. At the same time, Yuckyo throws Baek Rin's skull at the Dharma form. Baek Rin's skull strikes the hand of Wai Yun's skeletal Dharma form and shatters into dust. Yuckyo stands there, her mouth agape in disbelief. So very absurdly, Baek Rin has died. No. Is it because Baek Rin died so abruptly? She can't even feel sadness at the current situation. Kaya. Wai Yun's skeletal Dharma form screams, engulfed by her devilish fire. Seemingly trying to attack her, the dark crimson skeletal Dharma form gathers devilish fire in both hands and emits ghost fire from its eye sockets. And just as realization hits Yuckyo and despair and sorrow registers on her face. Sutsutsu. Wai Yun's skeletal Dharma form. The fingertips of its hands start turning pure white. Wai Yun looks up at the skeletal Dharma form with eyes that have turned pitch black, seemingly confused. For some reason, the Dharma form seems to be gradually defying her command. Ugh. Wai Yun infuses even more devilish energy into the Dharma form. But although the Dharma form grows larger, the speed at which it turns white does not change. And then, finally, chwok. The skeletal Dharma form's form turns completely white, and the now white skeletal Dharma form's body appears to burn with blue. In an instant, flash, the Dharma form shines with a white brilliance, and from within, 28 translucent black spikes are ejected. Yuckyo realizes what they are, and her eyes widen. The 28 restrictions that blocked Baek Rin's heavenly circle and sealed his spiritual power. Those being ejected means. Kagugugu. Moments later, an overwhelming pressure descends upon the chamber. Yuckyo and Wai Yun simultaneously fall to their knees, but Yuckyo's eyes brighten. Within the white brilliance, bone dust seems to coalesce, giving birth to a person's silhouette. Sutsutsu. As the white light fades, the silhouette inside opens its mouth. It's a ghost cultivator with a body made entirely of white bones, wearing a long white robe. 13th Guardian Ghost King of the Wuji Religious Order, Baek Rin. I have been resurrected to protect Sacred Orchid Princess Yukio. You're really late. Baek Rin withdraws the pressure directed at Yukio and points his finger at Wei Yun. Wei Yun, still seemingly unable to grasp the situation, explodes and dies when Baek Rin points at her with his fingertip. Baek Rin extends his hand towards where Wei Yun had been. Shortly after, Wei Yun's bones and a strand of her soul rises to rest on Baek Rin's palm. What will you do with that? Refine it to a ghostly creature. Are you going to use it as your Dharma treasure? No. I plan to grant her citizenship in the Twilight Domain and let her live a new life. Baek Rin chuckles as he speaks. I didn't kill her out of hatred. Her body was completely saturated with blood devilish energy, so I had no choice. I also heard that a girl fell and died due to a subordinate's mistake during the early conquest of governing Dragon Island, and it seems to have been this child. I intend to return her to her parents. If it's a soul soaked in devilish energy, refining it would make quite the powerful Dharma treasure. It's a shame. Baek Rin looks at Yukio and asks her in response to her comment. Didn't Princess say it's nothing but an illusion anyway? Why covet an illusion? That's because it's just an illusion anyway. What does it matter if a non-human in an illusion is refined into a Dharma treasure? Please do not say such things. At Baek Rin's gaze, Yukio lowers her eyes and speaks. If you swear to follow me, I won't say it again. Baek Rin looks at Yukio for a moment, then without answering her, silently releases Yukio's restrictions. Clink, clink, clink. 3 spikes, similar to the ones embedded in Baek Rin's heavenly circle, are pulled out from Yukio's body. Yukio regains her cultivation and immediately flicks her hand to scatter the prohibitions on the black ancient plaque before taking it from the altar. It's done. Finally, a sense of joy wells up in her eyes. The name, Yuk-ung, on the black ancient plaque appears to be shining auspiciously for some reason. With trembling hands, she picks up the black ancient plaque and places it in her bosom. Watching this scene, Baek Rin sends a mental speech, asking curiously, why not just put it in the storage scroll? If it's the governing Dragon Palace Lord, he must have surely placed a tracking spell without us knowing. No, since he possesses Yukung's body, he would be able to detect the name plaque even without a tracking spell. No, items like the black ancient plaque or the black ancient paper are quite fragile and easy to crumble. They are, after all, replicas of the real black ancient plaque. Even as a replica, for a material that presides over the contracts of integration stage cultivators to be this fragile. Baek Rin looks at the black plaque with an interested expression and then turns his head. Well then, let's get out of here. Then, just as she and Baek Rin are about to exit the secret chamber, kagugugu, from above the altar where the black ancient plaque was placed, a loud noise erupts and a teleportation array appears. Simultaneously, the attraction force of the entire secret chamber they are in seems to distort, and the chamber itself transforms into the shape of a water droplet, isolated from the surrounding dimension. Yukio lets out a hollow laugh as if she has realized something. Removing the black ancient plaque from the altar causes the nearby area to transform into a middle zone. My father didn't just have someone else guard the black ancient plaque for no reason. Baek Rin attempts to distort the void through attraction force to create an opening in the droplet. However, beyond the void, only the dark scenery of the deep sea is visible. It's useless. This middle zone itself has detached from governing Dragon Island and fallen right into the depths of the deep sea. If we leave here, we'll immediately become lost in the sea. Looking at her, Baek Rin asks, did Princess Yukio not say she could find her way in the deep sea? Yukio lowers her head, looking embarrassed. Back then, I lied to shift Jean Meal's pursuit onto Sir Baek Rin. It's impossible with my sea dragon true blood. Maybe if it were someone on Sir Seo Rant's level. Baek Rin nods and says, in that case, the only options left are to return the black ancient plaque or, their gazes turn towards the teleportation array above the altar. We have no choice but to board that teleportation array and reach the opposite end connected to this middle zone. Princess. However, Baek Rin is puzzled to see Yukio's dark expression. The place connected to that teleportation array, I have a feeling I know where it leads. Where is it? It's probably to Cherry Blossom Dragon Island, but Cherry Blossom Dragon Island is a deep sea island. It's impossible to get out anyway. Yukio, with a gloomy expression, places the black ancient plaque back onto the altar. Then, the space within the chamber, which had turned droplet-shaped, returns inside governing Dragon Island. There's no other choice. Let's reunite with the cult leader and the others first, and then maybe we can try retrieving it again. After saying this to Yukio, he walks towards the chamber door. Yukio, looking regretful, can't bring herself to let go of the black ancient plaque. and as Baek Rin opens the chamber door, creak. Yuk Yo and Baek Rin are met by Yuk Rin's main body outside the chamber door, wearing an expression as fierce as an evil spirit. Come. Baek Rin hastily closes the door, and Yuk Yo, sweating coldly, retrieves the black ancient plaque from the altar again. Immediately, the chamber they are in reverts to the middle zone settled in the depths of the deep sea. Baek Rin speaks in a low voice. That person just now. Yes, that was Father's main body. What they saw was Yuk Rin's main body. More precisely, it was Yuk Rin's main body at the mid-integration stage before possessing the physical body of Yuk Ong. Of course, to Yuk Rin, who has taken over the body of Yuk Ong at the grand perfection integration stage, it is no different from a clone, but even that clone is at the mid-integration stage. Baek Rin can't possibly contend against it. Baek Rin lets out a low groan and looks at the teleportation array. In the end, it seems we have no other choice. It seems so. Shortly after, Baek Rin and Yuk Yo tightly shut their eyes and step onto the teleportation array. The light from the teleportation array engulfs them, and they disappear from atop the formation. The deep sea island beneath governing Dragon Island. They have gone to Cherry Blossom Dragon Island. Damn. In front of the secret chamber. There, Yuk Rin's clone, with bloodshot eyes, is drawing a formation in front of him with his own blood. It's a teleportation array. No. How dare they try to escape? I cannot allow this. Yuk Yo must be in my hands. Yuk Yo must be in my hands. Yuk Yo must be in my hands. Yuk Rin, who seems mentally unstable for some reason, shouts Yuk Yo's name as he infuses spiritual power into the teleportation array. Pasak. The blood of the teleportation array seems to ignite, and the formation activates. It's the teleportation array leading to the middle zone where Yuk Yo and Baek Rin had just been. And just as Yuk Rin, with blood-red eyes, is about to step onto the teleportation array, where do you think you're going, governing Dragon Palace Lord? A man dressed in white, holding emptiness in his hand, asks Yuk Rin from behind with a sly smile. Yuk Rin grits his teeth and glares at him with eyes congested with blood. This devilish cult leader bastard. Do not interfere with me. I must regain Yuk Yo. I must regain Yuk Yo. Yuk Rin has gone mad. I can only think of it that way. Is it because he learned Salt Sea returning due Jade? Or is there some other reason? In any case, his heart essence is bizarrely twisted, and his intent, filled with obsession and possessiveness, is being emitted madly. Evidently, that obsession is directed towards Yuk Yo. This is not a typical mental illness, nor is it a normal heart demon. I know well because I've experienced mental illness and chi deviation myself. If a mental illness is manifesting in him, it should be an obsession with salt related to the Salt Sea returning due Jade he learned or schizotypal personality disorder due to purple soul filling the heavens. Previously indifferent, yet suddenly having such possessiveness over a daughter he was willing to kill if disobedient is strange. Did some external entity intervene? I can't think of it in any other way. But why Yuk Yo? That, too, I can't understand. What's with that teleportation array? It looks like it's related to a middle zone. Shut up. If you interfere, I'll kill you, devilish cult leader bastard. Foolish, this is just an avatar. How pitiful. To think that the once dignified Dragon King who trapped the entire Wuji religious order 100 years ago has become such a deranged old man. I click my tongue as I watch Yuk Rin, who has bloodshot eyes, gradually transform into his dragon form. And, it seems you're mistaken. The one I found difficult to deal with using my avatar was your main body, not someone like you. This bastard. You dare to me. Quong. I land a single strike of seated detachment, standing oblivion directly into his jaws, and as he hesitates, I strike him several more times. Quag. Yuk Rin's body is torn into several pieces and flung outside of governing Dragon Palace. What a pity. I click my tongue as I step onto the teleportation array Yuk Rin created and activate it. Pot. Crossing over the middle zone, I finally reach the other side and frown. Is this also Deep Sea Island? Honestly, being stuck on Penglai Island, I'm getting a little sick of Deep Sea Islands. This must be Cherry Blossom Dragon Island. In any case, that means Jean Mayul will probably soon enter this place. Initially, Yuk Rin was Kim Young-hoon's responsibility. Governing Dragon Island was mine. And Cherry Blossom Dragon Island was meant to be attacked by Jean Mayul's Saltbones ship. It's entirely possible for Jean Mayul's Saltbones ship, which can roam the deep sea, to enter here. TSK, it would have been nice if the Saltbones ship could have descended to Penglai Island as well. Unfortunately, the depths into which Penglai Island was plunged is too deep for the Saltbones ship to enter recklessly. Clearing my mind of unnecessary thoughts, I look around and quickly find Yuk Yo. And alongside her, Baek Rin. Baek Rin Yuk Yo. Ah, cult leader. Baek Rin turns to me and expresses an intent of relief. However, despite hearing that I have arrived, Yuk Yo just stares blankly somewhere. Baek Rin, what is Yuk Yo looking at? With an avatar, I can't exert consciousness on the level of my main body, so I can't immediately discern what they are looking at. I approach Yukio and look at what she is observing. It's a mural. And when I see the drawing on the mural, my eyes contract sharply. Because at the bottom of the mural, there are letters written in a very familiar handwriting, in very familiar characters. I've thought about it deeply. The reason that being gave such excessive gifts to the maggots. It wasn't to assist such maggots in achieving ascension. It was, without a doubt, to liberate ancient force. The hidden library on the top floor of Serving Command Palace. The letters are written in exactly the same handwriting as the ones written on the corner of that library. Chapter 396, With the Wind, 1. This is, no doubt about it. Why even bother preparing the ascension blessing for maggots? So they can feast harder on high-quality corpses? The highest floor of Serving Command Palace. The script written in the corner of the hidden floor's library, which appears when controlling the formation of Serving Command Palace, is the same ancient language as this text, and in the same handwriting. It means the same person wrote it. It's the answer to the self-question from back then. I've thought about it deeply. The reason that being gave such excessive gifts to the maggots. It wasn't to assist such maggots in achieving ascension. It was, without a doubt, to liberate ancient force. After reading the phrases once more, I extract several pieces of information. First, the author of this text harbors great resentment and malice towards cultivators. The sentence treats all cultivators as maggots and simultaneously seems to deny the ascension of cultivators. It's as if they are denying the existence of those ranked lower than themselves, though they themselves were probably just a low-ranking cultivator in the past. It makes me wonder if they were born with an excellent immortal beast true blood, or perhaps had high-ranking parents. Second, the Serving Command Seal is a gift someone deliberately placed in the head realm. The heavenly craftsman who created the Serving Command Seal. Who exactly is that person? What the text refers to is 9 times out of 10 the Serving Command Seal, and the fact that it's placed in the head realm strongly suggests it was made by the heavenly craftsman who created the original of the immortal treasure replica nether-crossing ship. But it's strange. I feel an odd sense of familiarity for some reason towards this being called the heavenly craftsman. Did I perhaps meet them at some point? Maybe it's because of Buk Hianghua. I don't know why, but I have a baseless delusion that the heavenly craftsman would somehow be favorable towards me. Anyway, third, the writer of this text mentioned that the purpose of the Serving Command Seal is to liberate something called ancient force. Indeed, the Serving Command Palace is also called the Liberation Palace. There was much debate in the head realm about why the Serving Command Palace is called the Liberation Palace and why it holds the power of liberation. Some said it's to liberate ancient souls in the head realm, others said it's to unleash forgotten treasures, and some believed it's to dissolve a certain formation. Of course, no one knows which of these is true. When the battle with Yuan Li began, Serving Command Palace certainly liberated him with the power of liberation. Serving Command Palace definitely possesses the power of liberation and is itself an immortal treasure that can move fate. Thinking back, it is a bit terrifying. Is it because I already met her, the immortal treasure Heavenly Lightning Banner? Thinking about it again, one can say the Serving Command Seal is also considered a type of immortal treasure. Could it have also been a living thing? Moreover, unlike Zhongli, the Serving Command Seal is an immortal treasure with no seal whatsoever. Recalling this, I feel a sudden chill run down my spine. It was truly a frightening matter when reflected on. Indeed, I must be cautious when descending to the head realm. If the Serving Command Seal is truly alive, it would mean that in the head realm, where even Zhongli was so terrified of and sealed in, the Serving Command Seal remained of its own will. I shake my head and shift my thoughts. Thinking too long about those things is detrimental to my health. Anyway, the Serving Command Palace was created to liberate ancient force, or so the writer of this text believes. Then, what exactly is this ancient force being referred to here? If I think simply, it would be related to the ancient force realm. However, I believe there is something more hidden in this word called ancient force. Ancient force. What exactly does it symbolize? The ancient force realm resonated with the Great Mountain Splitting Emperor technique. This world is related to Salt Mountain, and Changman Ryong definitely turned into a salt pillar from observing the heavens from the lower realm. The head realm is also related to Salt Mountain. Then, could this ancient force also be related to the owner of Salt Mountain? I ponder as I rack my brain. Of course, since I know too little at this point, I can't say anything with certainty. For now, these are the 3 pieces of information I managed to deduce while reading the text. I'll have an opportunity to learn more about this later. After examining the text, I turn my gaze to the mural. This mural is. It closely matches the characters inscribed on the purple soul jade seal. Blood Een, lofty dragon, ancient force, myriad realms beneath. Ah, I see. I understand as I look at the shadowy mass fighting a dragon in the mural. That is the same mass I saw in the painting in the Xieji worship layer of Lofty Dragon True Person storage scroll. I feel a certain sensation from that drawing, and it's evident that the drawing itself is slowly converting the surrounding heaven and earth spiritual energy into devilish energy. Now, I finally understand why Blood Een is engraved on the top of the purple soul jade seal. Blood Een Realm. The space unfolded by Co Huiol and formed from twisting the outskirts of the netherworld, called the Blood Een Ghost Valley Labyrinth. Inside that space, Co Huiol had opened the entrance to the Blood Een Realm. The aura felt at the entrance of the Blood Een Realm is the same as the aura I'm feeling from the drawing. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, there was a great war shortly after the creation of the vast cold realm. In that great war, Lofty Dragon True Person fought a certain entity from the Devil Realm, and at the end of the battle against that being, the serving command axe was lodged in their neck, resulting in death. The body of Lofty Dragon True Person, which still remains to this day, became the territory of the True Dragon Alliance. In any case, after that incident, the name of the vast cold realm changed from vast cold to bright cold, and as far as I know, it was around that time the Blood Een Realm separated from the True Devil Realm. Furthermore, the dark red mass separated from the certain entity from the Devil Realm that fought against Lofty Dragon True Person, depicted in this mural, emits a similar aura to the Blood Een Realm. And to build the love of virtue axis, one must go to the Blood Een Realm, not the True Devil Realm. Considering all these points, I come to one conclusion. The Blood Een Realm itself is alive. Not just alive, but practically no different from the belly of some entity. It is a much more sinister and ominous place than the Nether Ghost Realm, where true persons engage in observations, or the Ancient Force Realm, which is no different from a corpse disposal site. It's truly fortunate that I managed to obtain the love of virtue axis in advance. I sigh with a small sense of relief as I organize the contents of the mural. The Blood Een Realm, as a certain living entity, reached out to the remains of Lofty Dragon True Person and created the Black Mass. Immediately, I think of Hien Eum, the Black Dragon King. After all, the term Black Yin strategy is blatantly revealed on the purple soul jade seal. Moreover, Hien Eum united with the body of a Blood Een Realm's esteemed one very naturally and freely wielded the power known as vice. Thus, this mural, considered to record the history of the Sea Dragon race, explains the origin of the Sea Dragon race, starting from the Blood Een Realm. The first Sea Dragon King, Ja Eum, Purple Een, is undoubtedly a being derived from the Black Dragon King Hien Eum. The reason Co Huiol has been using devilish arts related to the Blood Een Realm until now. The preparations he made to ascend Yuan Li, whom he infected with tainted soul filling the heavens, to the Blood Een Realm. And the relationship between the Black Dragon King and Co Huiol. The relationship between the Black Dragon King and Blood Een. The Sea Dragon race is a race born from Blood Een. I recall the term seed dispersion that is on the purple soul jade seal. On the mural, from the world that seems to represent the Ancient Force Realm, I see small seeds seemingly falling into worlds that resemble stars. Thigh, ring finger, and head. Head. I stroke the mural. Why is the name of the Head Realm, Head Realm? I had a rough idea that the Head Realm is a decaying corpse realm made from someone's head. In that case, the illustration on this mural must surely be the Head Realm. And the seeds scattered on this Head Realm. Is it you? I ask as I glare at the drawing in the mural. For some reason, it feels like I hear a whispering ho-ho coming from that tiny dot-like picture. Are you the bastard? Of course, it's just my imagination. The mural makes no sound. After staring at the mural for a while, I record it with a recording spell, then turn to Yukio. She seems to have finally collected herself and clears her throat. I greet the cult leader. Why were you so absorbed in the mural? I was just surprised because it resembles a painting I saw in the library when I was young. If it's a picture you saw in a library as a child. In the library within Penglai Kingdom. At her words, I look at the mural. This mural was in the library? Not exactly the mural, but that part. Yukio points to the black something fighting with Lofty Dragon at the start of the mural. The black thing at the start of the mural is just beginning the fight with Lofty Dragon True Person. I look at it for a moment, then ask, unable to understand. Honestly, isn't it just a rough ink smudge on the wall? I can sense some devilish energy leaking out, but there's no chi in Penglai Kingdom, so you probably wouldn't have felt it. How did you recognize it? However, Yukio looks at me with a puzzled expression and says, Ink smudge? Does cult leader not see that grand appearance, Shang? I widen my eyes, even drawing a bit of the power of the three great ultimates from my main body to observe, but no matter how I look at it, it's just an ink smudge. I don't see it. Are you seeing something? I wonder if there is something only visible to Yukio, who was born in Penglai Island. She nods. Since the cult leader can't see it, I will explain. That drawing is one of the Dharma forms depicted in the Western Heaven Tinghua, a painting located in the palace library of Penglai Kingdom. Is that so? Yes. To explain the Western Heaven Tenghua, it's a type of mandala, manchar, that depicts an entity called the Wheel Imperial Venerable, Shadi Zun, at the center, protected by 14 Dharma Kings, Feng. Just as there are 13 guardian ghost kings in the order, the Wheel Imperial Venerable also has 14 Dharma Kings protecting them. The Dharma form depicted in that mural is very similar to the appearance of the accumulating virtue Dharma King, Feng, who is the right seat of the Wheel Imperial Venerable, although it looks a bit more menacing. What is this Wheel Imperial Venerable? In the Penglai Kingdom state religion, Axis Wheel Path, Zhengda, they are one of the two great Buddha venerables, Dafutin, who are worshipped. The great Buddha venerables are referred to as the Axel Imperial Venerable, Shadi Jun, and the Wheel Imperial Venerable, Hei Jun, and in Penglai Kingdom, the Axel Imperial Venerable is revered as the highest and is worshipped as the Guardian Imperial Venerable. The Wheel Imperial Venerable is also a splendid great Buddha venerable, but they aren't particularly popular. However, there are a few temples within Penglai Kingdom that solely worship the Wheel Imperial Venerable. Yukio finishes her explanation while gazing nostalgically at the ink-smeared mural depicting the black thing. To my eyes and to Beccarin's eyes, it merely appears as ink smeared on a wall, but it seems like something is visible to her. Just in case, I point at the black-red thing that breaks away from the black thing. I suspect it to be the Blood-Ean realm. Yukio looks at it for a moment and then tilts her head. Well, it just looks like black-red mist to me. I can't tell. Is that so? I understand. Anyway, it seems important and possibly connects to the secrets of the Sea Dragon race, so I plan to show it to Seo Ran. After carefully recording the mural, I walk along the path where the mural is drawn. At the end of the path is something that appears to be a statue of a sea dragon race. As soon as I see the sea dragon statue, I furrow my brows deeply. Thick, devilish energy clings to the statue, and a foul stench of blood emanates from it. The most disturbing thing is, it has a similar spell flow to what Seo Huil used. The statue exudes a flow of devilish energy strikingly similar to the devilish art Seo Huil used, known as blood sacrifice ritual, Blood-Ean returning home. Recalling what I know about blood sacrifice ritual, Blood-Ean returning home, used by Seo Huil, I try to infer the nature of this spell. There's a high chance that blood sacrifice ritual, Blood-Ean returning home, is a devilish art that creates an attraction force with the Blood-Ean realm. It seems likely that this sea dragon statue was also created by Yuk Rin to harness the power of the Blood-Ean realm. Quadaduk. I immediately shatter the statue. Urururu. And when the statue is destroyed, the wall behind it crumbles. It seems there was a hidden secret passage. Beccarin, does it look like there's something behind? I apologize, cult leader. My consciousness gets bounced back when I try to peer inside. If I force it, it feels like the devilish energy invades my mind so. That's fine. Just protect your consciousness. That information is enough. It's a place important enough for Yuk Rin to have set up a careful barrier. In that case, there's a high probability that the royal palace of Penglai Island, which Yuk Rin stole, is inside there. In other words, the area ahead is Yuk Rin's treasure vault. Well then, shall we take a look at Yuk Rin's treasure vault? I smile faintly and step forward to go inside. Or so I intended. Pine. Wooduk. I stop in my tracks. A very thin sword energy brushed past my cheek from behind. All right, you were here, now that I think about it. There stands Jean Mayol, smirking with one hand transformed into a grotesque sword. What situation is this, devilish cult leader? Surely, we agreed that the deep sea island was to be explored by my fighting demon pirate gang. I just found a teleportation array connecting from governing Dragon Island to the deep sea island and came in. Ah, I see. Wonderful. Now that you've rescued your subordinate and Princess Yukio, go back and return to the sea domain. Sorry, but there's something inside that I need to check. My fighting demon pirate gang will investigate thoroughly and let you know what's inside. Go back up. Wasn't your purpose to get Princess Yukio this time? Why don't you go back up instead? Surely we agreed beforehand that the deep sea island would be investigated by us. Keep your promise, devilish cult leader. I glare at Jean Mayol, and he glares back at me. So, your goal from the start wasn't Yukio, but the treasure inside the deep sea island? Both. Is that a problem? Rather than a problem. I glance at the mural depicting the secret history of the sea dragon race and speak. There's something inside I need to investigate. I told you I'll investigate and inform you. Leave. Sorry, but it's something I absolutely need to do, you see. Jean Mayol and I glare at each other. And in the next moment, pot. In a fleeting instant, Jean Mayol swings his grotesque sword. The grotesque sword is aimed directly at Beccarin's head, and the sword is enveloped in his domain, capable of cutting through Beccarin's heavenly circle and earthly bearings. Quong. I kick Yukio and Beccarin, sending them flying toward the teleportation array. Get out, Bekrin. Yukrin's body was cut like sashimi by me, so he won't be able to move for a while. In the blink of an eye, the grotesque sword moves again, targeting me. I deflect his grotesque sword with the All-Heavens sword and glare at Jean Mayol. Are you planning to take me on? Your fighting dance is beneath mine. Jean Mayol smirks at my words. Your main body is truly fearsome, but I can easily handle a mere avatar of yours that can only use fighting dance. And, do. Hee. Ha ha ha. The pirates of the Fighting Demon Pirate Gang surround Yukio and Bekrin as they try to use the teleportation array. I glare at them as I speak. If you kill my subordinates, the contract written on the black ancient paper will punish you. Jean Mayol grins. That's true, but isn't it strange? What? According to the contract terms, when I attacked you, the retribution from the black ancient paper should have descended upon me immediately. But here I am, unharmed. Do you know what this means? It's the power of Penglai Island. Because Yuk-Rin brought the palace of Penglai Island here, some of Penglai Island's rules are now applied even to this deep-sea island. In other words, within here, contracts are partially nullified, if not completely. Shall we test how far it applies? At his words, the pirates at the four-axis stage laugh as they press Bekrin with attraction force. Fine, I'll leave. I grit my teeth slightly and step back. However, Jean Mayol bursts into laughter and says, "Why be like that? Aren't you curious about what's inside?" This isn't fun. This won't do. He looks at me with a lustful gaze as he licks his lips. Let's make a bet. What? It's beneficial for you as well. If you win the bet against me, I'll give you the position of captain of the Fighting Demon Pirate Gang. Furthermore, all the treasures inside will be yours. You can investigate whatever you want inside. But if you lose, your subordinate's life is forfeit. Yukio will also be mine. I will take the treasure inside, and you devilish cultists will be forever stuck in Penglai Island within the deep reaches of the deep sea. How does that sound? Tempting, isn't it? As he gives a signal with his eyes, the cultivators of the Fighting Demon Pirate Gang threaten Bekrin with menacing spells. He calls it a bet, but it's practically a threat. I close my eyes. What kind of bet? It's simple. Inside, there will likely be the Salt Crystal Palace that Yuk-Rin took. Whoever takes hold of that palace first is the winner. Any method is allowed. His eyes are filled with lust. I can tell. Having caught an opportunity, he reveals an intent to want to fight me to fulfill his lustful desires. He has no chance against my main body, but for the fighting ghost race, battling a strong opponent is the greatest pleasure. He intends to feel that pleasure by fighting my avatar. It's unbearably unpleasant. However, after glancing at Bekrin, I look at him again. Fine. Ha. As expected, how bold. He licks his lips again with his tongue. I remain silent, quietly gazing at the entrance to Yuk-Rin's treasure vault, and meet Jean Mayol's eyes again. Let's start. Good, cult leader. For a moment, we lock eyes. And in the next moment, tat it. Unable to say who went first, Jean Mayol and I fly straight behind the statue. We race into Yuk-Rin's treasure vault. Thus begins the treasure hunt with Jean Mayol, with the life of my subordinate at stake. Chapter 397, With the Wind, 2. Chua? As I pierce through the barrier formed by the sticky, devilish energy, the surroundings brighten. For a moment, I find myself gaping at the overwhelming scene before me. Ancient stones. Golden ancient stones are shining everywhere. Crazy. Did they grind up a few islands to create a field of ancient stones? It's truly a treasure trove. In various places, not only ancient stones, but also the rare supervisory jade, and even a couple of salt crystals can be seen. Besides the ancient stones, there are Dharma treasures made of coral. There are also precious stones known as the seven treasures, such as tridacna, red beads, glass, lapis lazuli, and agate scattered around, overflowing with spiritual energy. Above all, the most incredible thing is the pure white palace in the center of this mountain of countless treasures. It's a palace made of salt crystals that Yuk-Rin has taken from Penglai Island. Even I am overwhelmed by this colossal mountain of treasures. Jean Mayol is completely entranced, unable to regulate his breathing, inhaling and exhaling repeatedly. Seizing the opportunity, I quickly dash toward the salt crystal palace. Just then, flash, snow-white sword energy scatters a chilling sword light from behind me. I hurriedly turn and block Jean Mayol's sword light. My arm tingles. There's no way that Jean Mayol could have produced such sword light. When I turn to look at him, Jean Mayol has already drawn a pure white sword from the pile of treasures and is pointing it at me. Crazy, just what is that? It's a sword made of pure white salt crystals. Around the sword, the space is subtly trembling, and the engraved characters reforming calendar on the sword glows softly, exuding a formidable presence. Do you know the myth about the god of artisans, the heavenly craftsman? The artisan who created countless immortal treasures was said to have crafted a treasure to contain the power of the god of calendar. Long ago, a quasi-mortal at the entering nirvana stage witnessed a shadow of that treasure and was so moved that they attempted to create a replica with salt crystals, producing 3 pieces, but in the end, failed, leaving only 3 failures. What's your point? This is a replica of the immortal treasure reforming calendar. Boom. Once again, Jean Miyol swings reforming calendar, and a sword light that matches Kim Young-hoon's surpassing radiant saber is produced from his hand. Boom. I swing the all-heavens sword to shatter that sword light, then narrow my eyes. I was pushed back. After deflecting the sword light, my foot was pushed back a full chi, 1.1 feet, 33 centimeters. With Jean Miyol's original skill, such a thing would have been impossible. Boom. I too look around, trying to find a useful Dharma artifact, but there isn't a single weapon-type Dharma artifact in sight. And I quickly realized why that is. Clang, clang, clang. Dozens of swords, sabers, spears, and divine weapons are suddenly embedded around Jean Miyol. That bastard, that pirate bastard had swiftly unfolded his integrated Dao domain the moment he entered to gather the treasures. Seeing it now, that bastard's integrated Dao domain is specialized not in concealment, but in thievery. I confirm that his greed and his integrated Dao domain are closely connected. I see. Your integrated Dao domain. Did you figure it out? It's unbelievably vulgar. Realizing how he has quickly swept away the surrounding treasures without me noticing, I let out a dry laugh. The ability of his integrated Dao domain. It isn't mere stealth, but rather, the ability to enhance thievery in proportion to his greed. This is truly making my heart beat. I've never seen a place with so many treasures in my life. To think Yuk-rin, that son of a pig, had so many treasures stashed away. Technically, it's the legacy of Sea Dragon King Yuk-ong, but, hee. So these are the treasures of the king of the Sea Dragon race that is said to be capable of finding paths in the deep sea. Jean Miyol's eyes glisten. Come at me, devilish cult leader. Here, my greed is at its peak. Here, I am the strongest. He rushes at me, surrounded by dozens, even hundreds, of divine weapons just like Kim Young-hoon did before. Kugwagwagwang. His reforming calendar and my all-heavens sword clash. I feel my entire body tremble at the overwhelming power of reforming calendar. Though his realm is shallow, he compensates for it with the power of the treasured sword and his early integration stage cultivation. Moreover, to make matters worse, the surroundings begin to shake. This is Kugugugugu. The mountain of treasures starts to tremble. At the same time, light bursts from the salt crystal palace at the mountain's peak. Pat it. It seems as though an ethereal force is enveloping the area. Simultaneously, our eyes shrink tightly. Has the chi thinned? No. This is an illusion. The salt crystal palace begins to exude a faint illusion, synchronizing the area into a world akin to Penglai Kingdom, where spells and methods cannot be used. Of course, the power is so faint it's pitiful compared to when it was atop Salt Mountain. Nevertheless, the power of both Jean Miyol and myself diminish rapidly, and since I am only a seated detachment, standing oblivion avatar with limited energy, my body becomes semi-transparent, on the verge of disappearing. This is insane. Cursing internally, I retreat. Suddenly, the mountain of treasures ripples once more, and a massive dragon emerges from within. Shed skin. It appears to be the discarded husks of Yuk-rin. With Yuk-rin's faint consciousness seemingly embedded within it, the husk wails as it spots us intruding on the mountain of treasures and twists its body violently, attempting to swallow us whole. The husk's own power doesn't seem to even reach the core formation stage, yet unreasonably, it seems unaffected by the illusion, using its energy freely. Splush. As the husk squirms, the treasure mountain ripples wildly like seawater. Good. This is getting more and more fun. Kong. My all-heavens sword collides with his reforming calendar. With my energy already weakened by the palace's illusion, I am almost annihilated entirely from the impact. Kugugugu. This useless illusion formation. Though my energy is reduced to the verge of extinction, Jean Miyol's energy, being of the integration stage, is at the chi building level. We dodge the attacks of Yuk-rin's husk, clashing our swords against each other. Kang Kong. Lacking the energy to freely transform the all-heavens sword, I keep it in the shape of a sword as I engage him. Feigning a horizontal slash, I immediately follow by sweeping his leg to disrupt his lower body and stab his eyes 7 times in quick succession. Puckwhack. Though Jean Miyol's head splits open, his body at the chi building level continues to recover endlessly as long as the head isn't severed, relentlessly pressing me. Kugwagwagwang. When he swings reforming calendar, a corner of the treasure mountain which is akin to a small hill collapses. We are engulfed by a tidal wave of ancient stones, battling atop the undulating sea of ancient stones. Spinning from a low stance as if dancing, I slash upwards towards him. Jean Miyol's chin splits open. He steps forward, attempting a downward slash from the upper left to lower right. I hook his foot and after breaking his balance, use transcending peaks to cut towards his side. He almost falls but regains his balance, launching 3 consecutive strikes with Reforming Calendar. The first is countered with Echoing Valley, also offsetting the second, while the third is deflected using Deep Mountain. I then close in and cut with Secluded Valley, following up with Bouldered Cliff and Strange Stone consecutively, grinding away at his chest. Cowork. Ah, good, good, good. With a flushed expression, he regenerates his body and holds Reforming Calendar in his right hand and an unknown divine spear in his left. In the air, he has a demon saber, a ghost bow, and countless weapons arranged like a cavalry and charges at me. Kagugugu. His attacks rain down on me like beams of light. But they are shallow. They aren't properly coordinated. Unfolding landscape painting as if dancing, I deflect, redirect, and evade. Splash. The terrain changes once again due to the movement of Yuk Rin's shed skin. I find myself above Jean Mayul. Boom. The slashes focus on one spot, biting into one of Jean Mayul's weapons like a mountain tiger. Quang. The sword energy intensifies, and weakened with us, Jean Mayul's ghost bow shatters. Spush. The terrain changes again. Jean Mayul, a pirate accustomed to fighting at sea, is hardly affected by the changing terrain and immediately regains posture and strikes down at me. I use 9 mountains, 8 seas, rotating 90 times on the spot, and adding the rotational force to launch 8 slashes upward. Jean Mayul seems to stagger, but regains his stance. Splash. The terrain shifts once more. Our sword moves change as well. Due to the constant transformation of the terrain caused by Yuk Rin's husk, I have to manipulate the surroundings using mountain and valley transformation to create a terrain favorable to me. Kong, Kagong, Kagagagak. Despite everything, he is still at treading heavens. He pressures me with attacks that are seamlessly integrated with martial arts. In a fleeting moment, dozens, hundreds, thousands of exchanges occur. Tung. An ancient stone is launched into the air, and Jean Mayul swings his divine spear at me in sync with it. The stone shatters, scattering in all directions. Some of those fragments rush toward me. I scatter sword energy with joy of mountains and peaks, deflecting all incoming stone fragments back towards Jean Mayul's eyes. Immediately switching moves, I use the now 6,000 lights emerging peak of the 12th move of Severing Mountain Swordsmanship, concentrating a massive amount of sword energy onto his spear. Pasak. His spear breaks. Splash. With 3 shifts in the terrain, we exchange an uncountable number of blows, and 77 of Jean Mayul's divine weapons are destroyed. Each time I shatter one of his divine weapons, his expression twists like that of a ferocious evil spirit. It's a rather thrilling feeling, a reaction I hadn't seen when breaking Kim Young-hoon's weapon. We exchange swords. His demon saber grazes past my eyes, and I twist the trajectory of my sword, striking his demon saber upwards. I then strike his saber again with Dragon Vein, breaking it completely. We exchanged moves. His devil sword pricks my earlobe and he attempts to slice my neck with a change of technique. But the trajectory of the All Heavens sword bizarrely shifts, deflecting the attack. Then, using layered mountains, I create a thicket of sword energy to restrict his movements. Seizing the gap when Jean Mayul pauses momentarily, I use mountain and valley transformation, concentrating it on his devil sword and reducing it to powder with vibrations. We exchange intent. Receiving his now bright red intent, I dodge his dual strike aimed simultaneously at my groin and face. A strand of hair is sliced off. Immediately, I thrust my sword into Jean Mayul's mouth with flowing ridge, and with Mountain Echo's valley response, I channel my sword cry, Jang, into his internal organs, causing his entire body to tremble. As he spews blood from his 7 orifices, I shred the mace in his left hand to pieces. Quang. And once more, we exchange moves, shattering 3 more of his weapons. How many times have I exchanged blows with him? Now, all that remains in his possession is the first divine sword he held, the weapon called Reforming Calendar. Jean Mayul's eyes are half rolled back as he grinds his teeth. You damn bastard, my children. When were they ever your children? They were Yuk Rin's. Shut up. I'll kill you. He rages furiously, gripping Reforming Calendar in his right hand and transforming his left into the grotesque sword, unleashing a flurry of sword moves. I'll show you the power of an immortal treasure. Hot. Once again, a terrifying snow-white sword light grazes past me. Indeed, it's a fierce strike. Despite having destroyed all of Yuk Rin's weapons, the reason I haven't managed to break Reforming Calendar in his hand is simple. It's because the power of Reforming Calendar is far beyond expectations. This is troublesome. Tung, tung. I try provoking Reforming Calendar several times, but it's unyielding. It's solid. Blong. He swings Reforming Calendar again. Salt crystal itself is the core of the flying immortal formation and allows access to the lower realms. In other words, it's a mineral that interferes with dimensions. Because it interferes with dimensions, the Saltbones ship of the fighting demon pirate gang, which uses salt crystal as its keel, can dive and navigate freely in the deep sea. And the power of reforming calendar, made from such salt crystal, has a surpassing radiant saber-like ability to slice through space even though the energy is thin. Chwack. Splush. Simultaneously as I dodge reforming calendar, Yuk Rin's husk moves, and the slash from reforming calendar directly strikes the waist of Yuk Rin's husk in an unfavorable position. Slice. Just like that, the waist of Yuk Rin's shed skin is cut through. Yuk Rin's husk thrashes like mad, emitting light. I can't break that. I know instinctively. A replica of an immortal treasure crafted by the heavenly craftsman. No, to be precise, it's not even a replica, but a failed product. However, I can feel it. This reforming calendar sword is one with an insane level of completion, a divine sword of the world. Could one believe it if I said this single sword has a pressure equivalent to one of the Mad Lord's integration stage puppets? This single sword alone is on par with the Buqiang fleet. It's to the point where even someone like me, who has no greed for Dharma treasures, feels my heart shake. And such an insane artifact is being wielded by a treading heavens warrior. If Kim Young-hoon were to wield it, I can't guarantee victory even with my main body. If Jang-ik were to wield it, there would be no one to stop him from conquering the bright cold realm. However, how pitiful. Instead of swinging my sword, I look coldly at Jin Mayol, who is consumed by the potential of the reforming calendar sword and wielded by the sword instead. Is this the fighting dance of your fighting ghost race? The attacks of Jin Mayol that initially took the form of the fighting ghost race's fighting dance are increasingly distorting as he swings reforming calendar, turning into a disorderly mess of garbage. Shut that mouth? How foolish. I click my tongue and concentrate my mind. Since the start of the battle, Jin Mayol has not landed a single effective blow on me. While there is the difference in our realms, it's laughable considering when I fought with seated detachment, standing Oblivion Kim Young-hoon on equal footing after just reaching Tribulation Heavens. At that time, I pushed Kim Young-hoon back with sheer force. But what about this guy? He doesn't have something like the 3 great ultimates. Yet, despite still having a higher cultivation than I do, possessing an overwhelmingly superior weapon, and being older than me, he has been relentlessly toyed with his treasured possessions being shattered apart. Your greed has rotted your martial arts. I mock his sword, deflecting the grotesque sword aiming for my side, then thrust my all-heavens sword towards the reforming calendar sword that tries to pierce my eyes. Puckwhack. The next moment, blood spatters. My all-heavens sword accurately pierces Jin Mayol's grip, halting his sword's advance. Boom, 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 boom. In the next moment, my all-heavens sword unleashes thousands of stabs in an instant, causing Jin Mayol's grip to explode. TSK. Yet, his body clings stubbornly to his sword. Even if it's rotten, he's still at tribulating heavens, huh? I make up my mind. Even if I take some losses, I'll have to use it. Swoosh. Once again, the terrain shifts. Unfortunately, the change results in him being slightly above me, and me slightly below him. Without the opportunity to adjust the terrain using mountain and valley transformation, he charges at me. It doesn't matter. I move my sword. Swah. The all-heavens sword begins to cry. Due to the salt crystal palace, the energy is thin. Both my body and the all-heavens sword are in a weakened state. However, even in that situation, the all-heavens sword becomes distinct again. The sword moves. A faint mist follows in the wake of the sword's trajectory. A martial technique I began creating upon coming to the ancient force realm, integrating everything I have. Severing mountain swordsmanship, the 31st profound move. This is my history. Chapter 398, with the wind, 3. Focusing my emotions, I imbue my sword with heart essence. Within Dao Mountain Sword Forest. There, only one sword is shining. That sword is full of nicks and chipped edges. Reflected on the blade is a novice swordsman clad in white. Beyond the transparent blade, a crude 3 great ultimates is visible. This technique is still incomplete, and it was not used because it has the drawback of exploding midway when unleashed. However, right now, I decided it's time to use this unnamed martial move. This treasure hunt that involves hostages between us is already meaningless. The 31st move of Severing Mountain Swordsmanship begins with the very first technique, Transcending Peaks. Similar to the 30th move, Deep Mountain, Emerging Dao, there are 3 steps through at the start to transition between planes. Starting with the horizontal / Transcending Peaks, I move the sword from a lower plane to a higher plane. Then, with a downward slash, I unfold Deep Mountain, Emerging Dao as the second step. Immediately following with a thrust, I launch a seated detachment, standing Oblivion single strike at the plane of soul to complete the third step. Thus, unifying all planes my sword reaches through these 3 steps marks the beginning of the 31st move. The immortal cultivation of the Heaven tribe is a method of rising to the plane of fate. The immortal cultivation of the Earth tribe is a method of rising in the plane of Qi. The realm of the heart tribe roams freely at the plane of soul. I encapsulate the path of immortal cultivation I have traversed thus far in my sword path. Through the first, second, and third steps, all moves of the Severing Mountain swordsmanship are connected and interconnected. The first step rises from a lower plane to a higher plane through the Heaven tribe method, mimicking the stages of Qi gathering, Qi refining, core formation, nascent soul, heavenly being, and 4-axis. The second step strikes from a higher plane to a lower plane through the Earth tribe method, causing explosions and imitating the realm of the Earth tribe. The third step was just martial arts up until now. Following the first, second, and third steps of horizontal slashing, vertical slashing, and thrusting, I consecutively unfold the 20-second move Severing Mountain 3 times in a row, pressing forward with 66 martial techniques. And then, I activate the combination technique of the 66 moves again. After unleashing the combination technique, within the first, second, and third steps, I fuse all my cultivation techniques, demon abilities, and puppet circuits. This is the still incomplete 31st move of Severing Mountain swordsmanship. Chua. Sword and swords connect infinitely, exhaling a hazy mist. I engrave my history into my sword path, revealing the effect of the canvas of myriad forms and connections. Each droplet of mist is a gang sphere that has reached the zenith. Qi is being consumed enormously, causing my avatar to flicker as if it's about to vanish. However, the mist begins to rotate in the form of the 3 great ultimates. Heaven and Earth spiritual energy is drawn in. Jean Mayul's eyes waver. The 3 great ultimates rotate. The hazy mist swirls ferociously. Kugugugugugu. Just from the after effects, Yuk Rin's treasure mountain is split apart, and Yuk Rin's husk turns to dust and vanishes. The finale of the 31st move is to unite the 3 great ultimates into one and manifest a strike that would cleave heaven and earth, causing the phenomenon of split sky. The 3 great ultimates unite. The hazy mist is dyed pure white. The next moment, quag-wag-wag-wang. As if alive, my technique twists and explodes. Unable to control the explosive force, I am hurled backward along with it. But at the last moment, I concentrate the explosive force on Jean Mayul's right hand. And, quaching. Finally, the reforming calendar's sword held in his hand is flung away. TSSSSSS. My avatar becomes faint as if it's about to vanish. Did Yuk Rin's shed skin serve a role as the axis of the illusion formation? As the husk turns to dust, the illusion formation trembles and collapses. The scenery of the other world that overlapped with this space until moments ago disappears, and the thin Qi returns to its original state. However, the clash just now is clearly a loss to me. Had I focused the explosion more onto Jean Mayul's body, I could have entirely grinded away his upper body, but seeing his gaze at the last moments, I deliberately took some of the explosive force onto myself. Qi 3I. Drawing in heaven and earth spiritual energy, he regenerates the wounds all over his body. In contrast, my body is fading, unable to withstand the aftermath of the explosive force. Though I would slowly recover as the heaven and earth spiritual energy is returning, at this rate, I will lose to Jean Mayul. Yet, instead of seizing this excellent opportunity to attack, Jean Mayul bites his lip and stares at me. What was that just now? I haven't decided on a name yet. I'm not asking about the name. How did you combine cultivation realm and fighting dance? His eyes are trembling violently, as if shaking like an aspen tree. How did you do it? Tell me. Kugugugugu. As he roars, I can feel the entire deep sea island shaking beyond Yuk Rin's treasure vault. I look at Jean Mayul and smile. You can do it too. What kind of nonsense? What is that in your hand? What have you been wielding all this time? At my shout, Jean Mayul is dumbfounded and then shivers. I ask as I raise my energy-drained body. What is the name of what you are unfolding? Second stage fighting steps of fighting dance. I asked what is the name of what you are unfolding. Clearly, Jean Mayul has the advantage in energy. He also has the advantage in stamina. If he and I were to clash now, he would easily eliminate my avatar and seize all the treasures here. However, Jean Mayul avoids my gaze and lowers his eyes instead, as if wanting to hide in a mouse hole at my shout. I don't know. Raise your sword. He briefly glances at the reforming calendar's sword that had been flung from his hand, clenches his lips, and transforms his hand into the grotesque sword. I will ask again. What is it you hold in your hand? He lowers his head. The intent of shame reveals itself within his heart. The fighting ghost race becomes aroused through combat. Thus, they elevate their realm and grow faster than anyone else through combat, becoming the most excellent warriors compared to any other race. They clash with other races, emulating their physiques, and indulge endlessly in ecstasy and frenzy, fighting until they die. That is the fighting ghost, Doguri. Jin Mayul, born as a fighting ghost race, has lived that way until now. Through the traditional ritual of the fighting ghost race known as fighting dance, he entered the first stage of fighting steps. A few hundred years ago, he fought with someone from the Conqueror King's forces called the Surpassing Radiant Divine Demon, who appeared in the ancient Force realm, gaining inspiration to enter the second stage of fighting steps. Reaching the second stage of fighting steps, something only those with extraordinary talent among the royal family of the fighting ghost race might achieve, Jin Mayul's confidence soared to its peak. Now, he is superior to any other of the fighting ghost race. If he only lives long enough, he is confident he can surpass the third stage of fighting steps and reach the fourth stage of fighting steps, which is said to have been reached by the creator of the fighting dance. He felt like the world was in his grasp. He already seemed to see the ultimate limits of fighting dance flickering before his eyes. His life has never stopped once. Although minor obstacles have blocked his path, he believed he could overcome them as he always had. But, I don't know. Jin Mayul lowers his eyes before a human swordsman he has always looked down upon. His entire body is trembling. The beautiful sword dance he has just witnessed still flickers before his eyes. It's often said that when one's realm is too low, they cannot recognize the moves of those at a higher realm. However, Jin Mayul's realm is at the second stage of fighting steps. Regardless of anything, he possesses a sufficient level of insight, and since he isn't at too low a realm, Jin Mayul can comprehend some of the enlightenment imbued in that sword dance. It's immature. There seem to be many areas that need improvement, and it's evident that the man before him can't control his sword path. The fact that the sword techniques exploded due to lack of control over the sword path is laughable, something even a passing carp would find amusing. Yet, Jin Mayul can't laugh. Because the moment he saw that sword, he realized that the fighting dance he has learned is even more worthless. The swordsmanship that began with 3 movements was elegant. It was the murmuring of countless crowds, a miserable attempt to integrate heaven, earth, and heart. At the same time, it was the immaturity of a novice swordsman and a trash-like waste. However, the murmuring within the sword constantly discussed the direction the sword should advance. The misery continually pushed the sword to develop. The immaturity, through comprehension, refined a trash-like sword path. A sword containing infinite possibilities. That was the sword displayed by the man before his eyes. And when that man, who showcased that beautiful potential, asked a question Jin Mayul had never contemplated before, Jin Mayul felt an indescribable shame. It's humiliating. Just why is it exactly? The fighting ghost race only learns the fighting dance, but they don't bother assigning names to it. To them, the fighting dance is merely one of the many ways to enjoy copulation. Everyone thinks so, and thus Jin Mayul never considered naming the fighting dance as well, because it's common sense. But now, what stands before his eyes is a sword reaching a realm that can never be touched by mere common sense. To speak of common sense in front of that sword is an act that would make Jin Mayul himself trash. Am I trash? The grand cultivator of the fighting ghost race, Jin Mayul, who has always been overflowing with confidence, falls into despair for the first time in his life and trembles all over. In front of that sword, he seems so small. He wants to cry. Holding a sword has always been joyous, but not this time. He wants to hide somewhere, anywhere. But he can't hide. I will ask again. What is it you hold in your hand? That person is asking. He must answer that question, because he knows that if he doesn't, he will remain trash forever. An instant as long as eternity passes. Jin Mayul hesitates, choosing and re-choosing his words. And finally, feeling as though he will vomit inside his shameful emotions, he speaks the name of what is in his hand. Lust, Yurqing. Yes, what he has been wielding, or rather, what 99.9% of the fighting ghost race wield, is that. No. Instinct, Bonhomme. Yes, this is instinct. To Jin Mayul's answer, the man before him nods. Yes, that's correct. Although he expected it, hearing a direct confirmation makes Jin Mayul feel a wave of nausea. It feels as if the fighting dance he has practiced, the entire history of the fighting ghost race, is being utterly denied. He has always believed their fighting dance to be superior. But it is not. Their fighting dance is merely an extension of the fighting ghost race's instincts. He looks at his sword with a dazed expression and asks, if so, is fighting dance wrong? And that person replies, it might be. Then, or it might not be. At his words, Jin Mayul's pupils constrict. If you know what you've been wielding all this time, then think about how you will wield it from now on. Is it because he is in a higher realm and can clearly read Jin Mayul's heart essence? Or is it simply because his sword is so lacking that it's obvious how he should be advised? Jin Mayul grits his teeth at his advice. and he raises his grotesque sword. I will swing at once. The man nods. The next moment, the two martial artists clash. Jean Mayol, with the energy of the integration stage, and the Heart Tribe, at the level of the fourth stage of fighting steps, collide. But there is no explosion. There is no shockwave. Only Jean Mayol's grotesque sword is cleanly cut. No, it isn't just his sword that is cut. His upper body and domain are entirely sliced away. Until just a moment ago, when he fought with the reforming calendar sword, they seemed to match quite evenly. Their levels seemed similar. At least, that's what Jean Mayol thought. Thud. Jean Mayol collapses, defeated in a single strike, slumping down on the mountain of ancient stone. It's a bitter defeat. However, a peaceful smile, one he has never worn even when mating, is now on his face. Thank you. He has lost. The Salt Crystal Palace he originally aimed for, the treasures of Yuk Rin's treasure vault, and the once-in-a-lifetime divine sword, the reforming calendar sword, will all fall into Seo Eunhyun's hands. But it doesn't matter. The next realm is in sight. The third stage of fighting steps, which no one in the fighting ghost race has reached for tens of thousands of years, seems fleetingly within his grasp. He is satisfied with that. The next realm is before my eyes. His vision blurs. His consciousness scatters. His body grows cold. It's a little different from the conclusion Jean Mayol had envisioned, but he smiles. Having exhausted all his resurrections and failed to fully obtain purple soul filling the heavens, the unaging and undying he aimed for is out of reach, but it doesn't matter. The soul, Aon of fighting dance. Because he discovered the joy of what Seo Eunhyun calls martial arts. Thus, the grand cultivator of the fighting ghost race and captain of the fighting demon pirate gang, Jean Mayol died. He was an unpleasant guy from the first meeting. Originally, when I unleashed the 31st move, I intended to completely crush him with explosive force. But at the last moment, his eyes changed from those of a beast to those of a martial artist. As a fellow martial artist, I decided to take on his strength and give him a chance. And although Jean Mayol charged like a beast, he died as a martial artist. After looking at Jean Mayol's corpse for a moment, I swing the All-Heavens sword. Kugugugugu. The mountain of ancient stone and treasures above him collapses. Buried under golden treasures, the martial artist Jean Mayol completely disappeared from the world. Chapter 399, With the Wind 4. Step. I slowly walk toward the palace and touch one of its pillars. Unlike what I have seen before, one of the pillars of the palace is missing. It seems Yuk Rin used it when cultivating the Salt Sea returning dew jade. The fact that such precious salt crystal is required to this extent for the progress of Salt Sea returning dew jade is honestly ridiculous cost-performance-wise. While its power seems exceptional, seeing the issues it caused in Yuk Rin's mind makes me less inclined to desire it, even if its power is outstanding. Whether the mental illness was triggered by the Salt Sea returning dew jade or due to external intervention, it doesn't matter. In any case, it means the Salt Sea returning dew jade offers no assistance in comprehending one's heart, unlike the Great Mountain Splitting Emperor technique or its variations. I enter the interior of the palace. The structure is exactly the same as when I entered from Penglai Kingdom before. However, the palace in Penglai country was filled with specialties of its country, decorations, and artifacts obtained from there, while the current palace is desolate with only a few documents seemingly written by Yuk Rin lying around. I head to the library where I saw the ritual worship scripture of love of virtue, but it's empty. It's as if everything I saw in Penglai Nation was an illusion. After looking at the palace for a while, I am able to figure something out. This palace, it's connected to Penglai Island's Salt Mountain and Attraction Force. It's a fact I can recognize, having communed with Salt Mountain with my main body for over 80 years. The attraction force is so weak that it's hard to discern this fact. And if it's connected to the Salt Mountain. I sit cross-legged, close my eyes at the center of the palace where the throne of Penglai Kingdom's queen used to be, and recite the formula of the reversed Great Mountain Splitting Emperor technique. Wawoom. The Salt Crystal Palace glows white. And that's a moment. Wawoom. The Salt Crystal Palace appears to shine dazzlingly white and incandescently, and I feel my mind being pulled somewhere. And in the next moment, chatter. I slowly open my eyes. This place. The surroundings are noisy. I am sure I was definitely alone inside the palace. Before I know it, numerous high and low-ranking officials before the throne in the royal court are looking at me with bewildered expressions, and their piercing gazes are stabbing. You crazy king of demon spirits. What are you doing? Get down at once. This insolent one. They are all clamoring at me in unison. My senses are dizzy at first, so I can't understand what they are saying, but I soon grasp the meaning of their words. Squirm. Something is squirming beneath me. I quickly stand up and look at the throne. On the throne sits the Queen of Penglai Kingdom, glaring at me with a slightly flushed face. For two people to suddenly appear and sit on me, I almost suffocated to death. Why have you appeared again unexpectedly? What do you want now? Please wait a moment. I feel a headache coming on. The headache soon intensifies, and abruptly the illusion in front of my eyes blurs, and I find myself back in the empty palace. I see. Just a moment ago, I was startled and temporarily stopped reciting the mantra of the revered Great Mountain Splitting Emperor technique. Reciting the mantra of the reversed Great Mountain Splitting Emperor technique crosses me into that world, and when I stop, I return. Is that it? It seems to be a peculiar situation caused by the separation between the Salt Crystal Palace and the Salt Mountain of Penglai Island. I smile at the amusing situation and step outside the palace. Just then, zing. I suddenly feel an intense headache coming on. Kook, what is this? It isn't a pain just affecting my seated detachment, standing Oblivion avatar, but even my main body on Penglai Island is in agony. I shift my main consciousness to my main body to find out what is happening, and then I immediately understand the situation. 3 days? Coming to my senses above the Salt Mountain, I am so dumbfounded I open my mouth blankly. In the short span, I entered Penglai Kingdom and opened my eyes. 3 days have quickly passed, and this phenomenon is not unfamiliar. When I met that, I can't remember the name, but the encounter with a certain being, I met at the lowest floor of the Serving Command Arc. At that time, I endured for over 10 years inside, only to find that it was an incredibly short period in reality upon regaining my senses. A phenomenon of space-time distortion. This is related to a true immortal. I can tell at a glance. It must be an intervention by the owner of Salt Mountain or something related to them. I feel fear, but this isn't a situation where I can flee just because I am afraid. I grit my teeth and transfer my main consciousness back to my seated detachment, standing Oblivion avatar, and explore Yuk Rin's treasure vault. Jean Mayul's corpse is gone. I frown as I exit the vault. Outside the treasure vault, only Baek Rin and Yuk Yo remain. The entire Fighting Demon Pirate gang has disappeared. What happened? Well, the Fighting Demon Pirate gang took the body of Jean Mayul and immediately fled. They must have thought Cult Leader would annihilate them upon your return. So they ran away. I feel another headache coming on. Damn it. I need their Saltbones ship to transport Baek Rin. Since they ran away, there's nothing I can do. Of course, since the Saltbones ship is modified under Book Hyanghua's instructions, I can track it once it surfaces. However, I notice something strange and ask them, what about Yuk Rin? What happened to him? The fight between Kim Young-hoon and Yuk Rin seemed evenly matched, but in a long-term battle, it would be Kim Young-hoon's defeat. It's only natural, because Kim Young-hoon is just an avatar. There's no way the Yuk Rin who defeated Kim Young-hoon's avatar would simply stay put. Shouldn't he have entered this deep-sea island right away using the teleportation array? However, to my question, Baek Rin and Yuk Yo exchange glances before speaking in a bewildered tone. Well, Cult Leader, we know you can channel the power of your main body through your avatar. Would you consider drawing the main body senses for a moment? Following Baek Rin's suggestion, I use the All-Heaven Sword to draw the power and consciousness of my main body. And when I sweep the deep-sea island with my consciousness, I freeze as if struck by lightning. The deep-sea island, which should have been fixed in place, is moving. No, although it is gradually slowing down, it is indeed still moving. How did this happen? We're not sure either. The distance between the middle zone of governing Dragon Island and this deep-sea island has increased, making it impossible to use the teleportation array, so we're trapped here. Just what? While taken aback, I spread my consciousness even further to find out how the deep-sea island is moving. And during that process, I realized something. Woo-woom. Penglai Island. Above the Salt Mountain. I shift my main consciousness back to my main body and, along with the avatar on Deep-Sea Island, begin chanting the mantra of the reversed Great Mountain Splitting Emperor technique. Woo-woom. The Salt Mountain I am sitting on starts to emit light. Simultaneously, in the Deep-Sea Island where my avatar is located, the Salt Crystal Palace also begins to glow. This time, since I am not inside the Salt Crystal Palace, my consciousness is not pulled into that world. However, I can clearly feel it. They are pulling each other. And that force is unexpectedly immense. I chuckle wryly and say, seems we won't need the help of the Fighting Demon Pirate gang. The attraction force between Penglai Island's Salt Mountain and Yuk Rin's Deep-Sea Island's palace is pulling towards each other with tremendous power. Baek Rin and Yuk Yo. And the entire Deep-Sea Island where my avatar is situated is being drawn toward this side. I send a voice transmission throughout the Twilight Domain and Penglai Island. Rejoice, everyone. The operation to rescue the Guardian Ghost King, Baek Rin, has finally concluded. Now, all that remains is to wait for Gyo Yom and escape from Penglai Island. Upon hearing my explanation, Baek Rin and Yuk Yo's eyes widen in astonishment as they ask, hey, are we really returning to the Order, Cult Leader? Are you saying you really returned to Penglai Kingdom? I nod in response to both of their questions. The two seem momentarily satisfied with my answer, but then they look at each other again. I sigh, sensing the subtle emotions between them. It appears that for these two, the question of where they will return to has become more important than simply going back. Thus, for the moment, the issues facing our order have been resolved. In the Wuji Religious Hall's conference room, I brief everyone with my main body about everything that has happened. That's a relief. Although I fought that Yuk Rin guy for a day and night and inflicted a fatal injury, it still drained my avatar's energy. I was a bit worried. Thankfully, it seems to have worked out well. Kim Young-hoon sighs in relief, and Oh Hyun-suk agrees with him. Jean Myung-hoon nods stoically, and both Kim Yun and Book Hyang-hwa smile faintly at the same time. Seo Ran shows a disappointed expression after hearing about the relationship between Yuk Yo and Baek Rin, but gets a glare from Shur-ho. It's really fortunate that things worked out. However, there's still one issue we need to discuss. I look at Kim Young-hoon, Seo Ran, Shur-ho, and Book Hyang-hwa as I speak. Conqueror King, you said there haven't been any results from researching Penglai Island yet, right? Yes. We have examined the axes of Penglai Island's formations, but we couldn't find any clues to rescue Sir Chongmun Ryle. Book Hyang-hwa reports the fact with regretful eyes. For the past 80 years, Book Hyang-hwa, along with Seo Ran, Shur-ho, and others have been exploring and researching Penglai Island to save Chongmun Ryle. However, they couldn't find any clues here. In that case, to obtain a proper clue, we must reunite the Salt Crystal Palace and the Salt Mountain of Penglai Island. Or, we must enter the Illusion Formation to gather information from the people of that world. Particularly, the Queen of the Penglai Kingdom seems to know something, so asking her would be most appropriate. However, there is a problem with this. First, regarding the first method, that deep-sea island. Was it called Cherry Blossom Dragon Island? Even though Cherry Blossom Dragon Island is quickly coming here, the interdimensional distance in the deep sea is too vast. I can't figure out where exactly that unidentifiable hand has thrown us. Considering the attraction force between the Salt Mountain and the Palace, the speed at which they are getting closer, and the current gap between Cherry Blossom Dragon Island and Penglai Island in the deep sea, it will take a long time for Cherry Blossom Dragon Island to reach here. Approximately. About 7 years? This is entirely because the depths of the Ancient Force Realm's deep sea are much more unstable than the Chaos Realm domain in each middle realm. I've heard that in the Chaos Realm domains, space frequently gets distorted and distances lengthen or decrease randomly. The entrance to Lofty Dragon True Person Storage Scroll I went to last time is a place close to the stable realm and is very stable, so it can't be compared to a true Chaos Realm domain. However, the depths of the Ancient Force's deep sea are even more severely distorted. It isn't for nothing that even integration stage cultivators have a 50% chance of getting lost if they fall into the deep sea. Still, Penglai Island and Cherry Blossom Dragon Island are linked by attraction force, allowing them to approach each other rapidly, hence the estimation of 7 years. But 7 years means that the time is now drawing near. Book Hyang-hwa asks worriedly, if it's 7 years, isn't the grand event just around the corner? That's right. So, even if the palace merges with the Salt Mountain again, there won't be enough time to investigate properly. Therefore, Kim Yun's face turns pale. It's too dangerous, Eun-hyun Appa. At her words, the others also look at me with worried expressions. That's right, Seo Eun-hyun. Aren't you saying you'll enter Penglai Kingdom alone to investigate? It's dangerous. Moreover, didn't you say the time ratio is different in that world? Yeah, Eun-hyun. If you're asleep when you exit to the bright cold realm, wouldn't that just be over? After listening to everyone, I look at Kim Yun. It's okay. She will wake me up. I slowly explain my plan. I don't intend to spend time investigating without knowing how much time is passing inside. Using the wonderfully mysterious innate heart cannon, I will partially connect mine and Kim Yun's minds. Afterwards, I will enter Penglai Kingdom, gather information there, and when the time approaches, Kim Yun will send me a signal through the wonderfully mysterious innate heart cannon. I will then exit from Penglai Kingdom. That should work. Kim Yun bites her lip with a worried look in her eyes. I don't want to take such a risk on purpose either. There's a chance that some suspicious mechanism might activate while I'm inside and swallow my memories. Of course, according to the conditions for regaining awareness mentioned by Yuk Yo, it doesn't seem likely. In any case, there is some risk involved. But I shake my head with a determined expression. I'm sorry, everyone. But I must find a way to release Chongmun Ryong from the salt pillar. We can't delay any longer. Chongmun Ryong is still asleep as a salt pillar in that world. I can't leave him like that indefinitely. The Ancient Force is a world that reacts particularly well to the Great Mountain Splitting Emperor technique and the power of salt. I must discover the reason while I remain in this world. If not in the Ancient Force realm, there might not be another chance. Realizing my firm will, they sigh. Kim Yun, knowing she can't stop my will, bites her lip and lowers her head. All right, if you insist, go and come back safely. Thank you. I express my gratitude to her and everyone in the Wuji religious order. Wawoom. With Kim Yun's wonderfully mysterious innate heart cannon attached to my heart essence, I stand in front of the Salt Crystal Palace. I am curious about Yuk Rin's documents inside, but for now, this is more urgent. By the way, are you also coming along? I ask Yukio, who stands beside me. Of course. It's my homeland, after all. As expected, Yukio decides to accompany me inside. Her reason is to return to Penglai Kingdom. However, I look at her, and then at Baekrin. What will you do, Baekrin? I don't know. Baekrin seems to hope that Yukio will drag him inside. Yet, Yukio does not plead with Baekrin to come along. She seems to understand as well. Baekrin already has too many precious people in this world. Can't you stay in this world with us, princess? But Yukio shakes her head at Baekrin's words. I'm sorry, Sir Baekrin. To me, that world is truly my home. Baekrin hesitates to follow her, and Yukio approaches him and gently touches his hand. They stay like that for a moment, then the two part. Is this how it ends? I feel an inexplicable regret as I walk toward the palace. Yukio walks toward the palace with me. While reciting the mantra of the reversed Great Mountain Splitting Emperor technique, I place my hand on Yukio's shoulder. Blong. And, as we step into the entrance of the palace, I feel my consciousness shifting again and arrive in another world. The scene before my eyes change, and I am able to see a new landscape. A corridor lined with numerous soldiers. In front of me stands the Queen of Penglai Kingdom, and Yukio, whose shoulder I have been holding, has somehow transformed from a carp demon of the nascent soul stage into a human princess wearing beautiful ancient ceremonial robes. The Queen of Penglai Kingdom wipes her tears upon seeing Yukio. Welcome back, my daughter. Mother. Yukio hurriedly runs to the Queen, and I watch the reunion of mother and daughter for a moment. After a while, the Queen of Penglai Kingdom looks at me and says, there was a bit of a commotion earlier, but considering the circumstances, I will overlook it. After all, you have brought my daughter back to me, and not welcoming guests properly would be disgraceful. I will hold a banquet, so please enjoy. However, I shake my head and reply, I did not bring the princess to be entertained at a banquet. I have something I wish to know. I look at the Queen of Penglai Kingdom. Please tell me everything you know.